We are just 7 days away from opening night of the second annual Great American Sim Race. And this week, drivers will take their final opportunities to get their minds right and to get their momentum on the right track. Heading into the granddaddy of them all, the 2026 PGR 500. Tonight, we bring you action for another recruitment race for the PGR 500. Want to welcome you inside virtual Daytona International Speedway. I'm your host, Dawson Wise, bringing you all of the action tonight for recruitment race number 4 for the PGR 500. Tonight, a little bit different than what we've been used to in the format for the the recruitment races to this point. We'll get to that and much more throughout the night. Do want to give you an idea tonight of this week, what our schedule looks like going into this week, as well as what next week we'll look at, or what look like on our front as well. With all that being said, it's just about time to put cars on track. Let's tell you the format for tonight as we get ready for this recruitment race. So normally, we would have 2 10-lap heat races and then a 30-lap feature race. Tonight, we're going to change it up just a little bit. It's going to be a 10-lap heat race before the main feature race, but there will only be one, and here's why. The top 30 qualifying times, 60 total spots tonight, half of them will be locked into the feature, via their qualifying time. So tonight you'll see 30 drivers that will have the best qualifying times that we'll see later on in the feature that don't race in the heat race. Everybody else will go to battle in a heat race that you're about to see right here, and ironically, the grid pulls up just a little bit early for this one heat race. So you'll notice on here there will only be 30 cars in this heat race. That is because there are going to be 30 cars that make the field on time that just ran qualifying laps. Now you'll see a combination of drivers in this heat race. There'll be drivers that either put down a qualifying lap that was outside the top 30, or drivers that perhaps did not put down a lap at all, whether for time reasons or just by choice. So we'll have a combination of drivers in this heat. The top 10 of the 30 in this heat, it's actually 32, will join the 30 on time in the feature in just a few moments. With all that being said, let's get down trackside and let's get to it. On the pole for the heat race, a time of 50.168 seconds. It's Hunter Hastings in the Yoo-Hoo Chevy Camaro, rather. He'll start from pole position. It is outside. It's going to be Kyle Zittel in the 53, a thousandth off Hastings' time. By the way, the times were really, really close amongst the top 30. On row 2, a familiar driver to most, Nathan Harper is a multi-time winner in the Thursday Night Intimidator Super Speedway Series. He'll go from 3rd and have to race his way into the feature tonight. On the inside of row 2, to his outside, it's Justin Tutunchin, a driver that attempted the 500 last year, also attempted the SummerSlam 499 last summer. He'll start from 4th. Row 3, it's Josh McCullough, the McCullough boys. He'll go from 5th. And alongside him, it's Austin Call in car number 18. Row 4, Steve Sizemore in the 8 machine. He'll be running under the Dega Pros banner tonight. Gordon Glidewell with the Midnight Group will roll alongside him in the 8th position. Row 5, going to be Dana Ryan in car number 1, and Colby Nill making his return to PGR tonight in car 31. He'll go from 10th in this heat race. Back on row 6, Zachary King returns tonight. He put up a pretty good performance in the recruitment race a couple of weeks ago, if you'll remember. He'll be in car 51 again tonight. He'll go from 11th. It's Gordon Spain to his outside in the 12th spot. Row 7, Dylan Barris in the 45, and Seth Andrews in the 17. Row 8, it's Max Dinda. He's a light series veteran. He'll go from 15th in the heat. Dustin Cowan in 16th. Row 9, Josh Newman in the 36, and Andrew Zanto in car 06. Row 10 going to be Parker Lindemann in the 91, and Samuel Carter coming back for another start tonight. He'll be in car 66. Row 11 going to be James Matzler and Brent Rubidou. They'll make up 21st and 22nd. Thomas Smithers will go from 23rd with Jordan Bruton in 34th, or 24th rather. Brad Brazell starts from 25th. Robert Guthrie in 26th. Row 14 going to be Arthur Salvo and Ryan Hazlitt. Row 15, Cam Bourgeois and Jimmy Crow making a start tonight. He'll go from 30th in the heat race in the 49. We'll see if he can race his way in. Final row on the field, John Ellett and Mac Cook. Well, just in the nick of time, we've been joined upstairs in the broadcast booth for this recruitment race by my normal partner in crime, Austin Green. And look, Austin, a different format tonight for the recruitment race. Top 30 times made it in. Now 10 guys will make it here from this only heat race of the night. We'll run 60 laps later on, a bit longer than we're used to. How does that change driver mentality, not only in this race, but later on as well?
Same kind of intensity. Obviously, when we get to the heats during the PGR 500 week where, you're going to have that desperation. And let's say you do make it through the heat, but you find yourself kind of on the outside looking in during that LCQ race. A lot of guys going to have to figure out a way to make it happen here tonight if they want to know what to do next week. Looking forward to what should be a good one. And we got a lot of big names in this LCQ format style here.
Well, yes, we do. Some guys that I didn't quite expect to be logged in this race. Nathan Harper, I think, is chief among them. Hunter Hastings as well. Josh McCullough, Steve Sizemore, Gordon Glidewell. A lot of guys that we know are going to have to race their way in the hard way tonight. And we're going to get the action going right now from Daytona International Speedway. It's 10 laps in the heat. It's 60 laps in the feature later on. 10 guys make it. Everybody else is headed on home. Green flag is in the air, and we're underway from Daytona.
Race cars now up to full speed here at Daytona for the first race of the night here. And already 3 wide as you look towards the back of the pack. A lot of these guys dicing it up. And I'll tell you what, Dawson, only 9 laps left in this race. I know we just got things started, but already starting to feel like desperation time. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, how about Kyle Zittel? Currently leads the way. He's got Hunter Hastings doing all the pushing. Nathan Harper, Joshua McCullough staying in line, but they're going to get 2 by 2 further back.
Yeah, a lot of guys did not make the grid for this race. It's only 18. Car's trouble. One car got out of line. It was Dana Ryan in the blue number 1. He goes sideways and keeps it off the inside wall, but unfortunately now we'll need a caution. He's going to continue to slide all the way up the banking is Ryan. He'll come to a stop at the inside of turn 3. Unfortunately, though, a bad start to his night early on in the race. He'll need a caution to get back into it. Right as I said, they were going to calm down early. 2 wide back at the front. Hastings up around the outside. Harper going with him, trouble. Tutunchin's around. He'll take one more with him. And that's Zittel that started on the front row. They're both going to get the inside wall. And now another couple of cars are involved in this one. And as soon as I said there were a lot of guys that didn't make the grid, there's even more now having problems. We've whittled down to just 14 in the lead pack of the 19 that started this heat race. Dustin Cowan started on pit road. 4 now need a caution. Nobody else hoping for this thing to stay green. Their odds just got a little bit better.
And that's a tough break, too, for Zittel and Tutunchan. Those were 2 of the front-running cars, and they've been fast in quite a few of these recruitment races. It's tough to see it end this way. I was actually looking back at the incident there with Dana Ryan right as this one took place. For Dana, it looked more like a stack-up effect, and then for these 2, who, again, were kind of near the front at the time of this incident, I'll tell you what, Dawson, more of the same. Just looks like a stack up there that goes back to the 14.
Trouble not to cut you off, Austin.
There's
another couple cars around back here. Austin Gordon Spain and Dylan Barris have gone around at the tail end of the lead pack. This one will draw the caution with just 7 laps to go in our only heat race tonight. As these 2 were back towards the tail end. Oh, Gordon Spain spun again just as we came off of the camera angle. Let's try to get a good idea of what happened again. These guys were towards the tail end of this group, and everybody had mostly singled out. I just talked about how good these guys' odds had gotten for the race. And you're going to see perhaps a stack up here in front of Barris. He gets knocked out of line by Max Dinda just a little bit, and he's going to get hooked back up the racetrack as well. So he got hit to the left, tries to get back in line, gets hooked back to the right, and he's going to pull it off the fence hard. He takes a hard left and collects Gordon Spain. You saw that left front tire was cocked all the way 45 degrees. The other car involved was the 17. I believe that's Seth Andrews that gets a piece of this as well. So a number of cars get a piece. But Barris comes off the wall there and collects Gordon Spain. I'm not sure if it was a frustration thing or what, if he was just trying to keep the car in the pack. But whatever the case, goodness, he pulled it well off the wall, collects Gordon Spain in an incident that really was none of Spain's doing. We'll take another look from up top, and I thought it was a stack up in front of Barris that got him maybe a little bit out of shape. Yeah, it looks like they are stacking up. You see King, Sizemore, Zanto all on the brakes. And as Barris tries to get back in line and collect himself, Dinda, who may have had some help from behind, Colby Nill was in line behind him, gets into Barris. And watch Barris pull this thing off the wall. I mean, he just goes straight left. Collects Spain. Andrews goes around as well. Tough break for some guys there. Austin Gordon Spain gets collected in it, but it's Barris that kind of triggers the caution after he pulled it off the wall.
Yeah, it was interesting, Dawson. I was looking at it. Obviously, the contact there with Dinda is what ultimately gets him wrecked, but I was trying to figure out what kind of got him out of shape in the first place. Not sure if that car was maybe unloading as they came off the tri-oval or what the situation was, but you mentioned him obviously jerking the wheel left once he got onto the outside wall. Not sure if, again, as you mentioned, a little bit of frustration. That was a pretty big hit, though, so obviously a chance that maybe he broke some suspension components on that race car. Either way, all three of those incidents that we just saw within about the span of 2 laps, all off a stack up, so definitely something to keep in mind with this car. And I was watching Andrews slide through the grass. Looked like for the most part he did about all he could. He went for a pretty wild ride, but I don't think the damage is necessarily race ending for him. But we talked about how short this race was to start, and even if you got involved in that accident and didn't get any damage, we're only going to have about 3 laps left to go. I don't know if that's enough time to get back to the front.
Boy, he did some landscaping down there, did Seth Andrews. Did some lawn mowing in the infield. Also hit a couple of those little hops that are kind of in the transition where the oval turns back into the road course. So Andrews with a couple of tough hits to the undercarriage right there. He did get the wall at the end, but I'm not entirely sure that there's going to be much fatal damage on that car. So we go back up front. We're already halfway through. Again, only one heat race tonight. It's a 10-lap heat. We're taking 10 drivers of 19 officially that started this field, or in this field, rather. I'll give you the drivers that did not start really quickly. We'll just run through them one by one. Parker Lindemann, Brent Robidoux, Jimmy Crow, Robert Guthrie, Cam Bourgeois, Matt Cook, Arthur Salvo, Jordan Bruton, Brad Brazell, John Ellett, Ryan Hazlitt, Thomas Smithers, James Matzler, and Sam Carter. So a number of drivers did not make it to the grid for the heat race. Again, it makes the odds better if you're a guy that did start, and especially now if you're Zittel, Tatunchin, Spain, Barris, that are sitting on pit road. Dustin Cowan, by the way, is 2 laps down the leader, so he'll need a considerable amount of help if he's going to get back into this one. But the odds now better for the guys that are out here, and we told you some of the names. Hastings, Harper, McCullough, Glidewell's made some starts, Andrew Zanto, Sizemore, Max Dinda, Colby Nill. I mean, these are guys that show up on Thursdays, and they're having to race out of the heat because the qualifying times were that competitive in the top 30. They're now having to race out of the heat race. So again, a bit of a different format. You'll see a longer feature tonight, 60 laps, double the length, getting guys ready for what they could see in a dual race, which leads me into what we're going to talk about now. Again, the PGR 500. We are 7 days away, by the way. 7 days from tonight, this will be official racing in the PGR 500. The first 2 heats go off a week from tonight. Make sure you join us all week next week. Every night, Monday through Friday, we'll have heat racing. Friday night, we'll have the pole shootout race, which I'm really looking forward to, which will be 24 cars racing for the front row. We'll have LCQs on Saturday morning, duels on Saturday evening. And of course, the granddaddy of them all is Sunday afternoon. It's a bit of a grind for us up here, Austin. Obviously, the drivers have their own challenges with that, but look, it gets official next week. Drivers don't have many chances left here to get themselves ready for that event.
No, they really don't. And, it starts to get more real as you hear more announcements come out about it. Obviously, on our side, we found out that sponsorships have basically just about sold out at this point. And from a driver standpoint, I got to think that's one of the things that gets you excited. Entries continue to come in. And, every day as we get closer, Dawson, the anticipation just continues to build up more and more. You know how much is going to be on the line. And everybody goes into that week with the plan. You think, in reality, you're just going to maybe coast through it. You'll have a good finish in the heat, move on to at least the LCQ or the duels, and then have a shot at the feature. But we know good and well that it never seems to work out that simple. Always a little bit of adversity that these drivers have to go through. So it's about how you can kind of counter that when it becomes an issue. But you know what I liked about this kind of format that we did here tonight was it really did display all the competitiveness that we saw from the qualifying efforts. And with that pole shootout, Dawson, I think we're going to see some of the top guys, not only when it comes to racing, but some of the guys that are able to have that extra finesse that it comes to qualifying in these cars, and definitely going to be excited for that. But as mentioned, a lot of drivers that are in this LCQ that, well, we were surprised to see it here. We thought they would have qualified into the feature. A lot of work to do, but as mentioned, these top 10 are in a pretty secure spot. We'll see if they can keep it clean for these next 3 laps.
So 3 laps to go, just under 8 miles left in this heat race. 10 will move on. Everyone else going to go home at the end of these next 3 laps. There are protocols in place for potential overtime. I don't know if we'll see another yellow flag in this one. Hastings gets the jump. Green flag back in the air as they cross the start-finish line. Huge jump by Hastings. 2, maybe 3 car lengths as he gets way out in front of his pusher, Gordon Glidewell. He'll drop to the bottom here. Nathan Harper, Josh McCullough are there. Austin Call is the other car, the Aflac Silver Toyota, 4th in line now on the inside. These front 2 have gotten away by 3 car lengths, sometimes good, in this case not good. They're going to have cars coming up on them quickly, and the decision time for Josh McCullough is going to be, do you stay in line and push the guys in front of you? He says yes, so does Call, so does Zanto. As they work back to 3, everybody so far staying in line. I'm a little bit surprised. Glidewell leads up the outside with Zach King in support.
Smart decisions from about the front 7 or 8 right there. Everybody just minding their P's and Q's right now. We're going to be coming to 2 laps to go. And if you're in those front 10, you're in an advancing spot right now. But this outside starting to get going here just a little bit again. That's Gordon Glidewell on the 14. He's got a big push right now. The 51 of Zachary King trying to get this outside line going. Zanto jumps up. Oh, man, what a big hit from the 14. They save it, but now Zanto is going to find himself almost split. They keep it together. Meanwhile, the front 5 remain single file trouble. The 51 goes around. The 17 hard into the wall. Caution is back out with 3 laps to go, and this one's going to collect 3 towards the back of the pack.
Yeah, Tutunchin, Andrews, who we talked about in the last caution, and Zach King in the 51 were the 3 cars that I saw get a piece of this towards the tail end. This kind of got started as we head back to another replay. This kind of got started, I think, with that stack up that you talked about with Andrew Zanto and Gordon Glidewell, that you're going to see them up ahead get way out of shape here. As Glidewell, I'm not sure if he was getting pushed and trying to lift, trying to square up with Andrew Zanto. Well, they're pushing 4, maybe 5, almost 6 cars deep on this outside lane. And as they stack up, King's on the brakes. Unfortunately, Andrews to Tunchin, the guys behind them, don't get the memo. And it's Andrew, or rather King, that gets the initial contact. Man, it's a big hit for Seth Andrews. To Tunchin goes in hard as well. So a pair of cars that go into this one pretty significantly. You see King actually slaps the wall a second time. And one car got down towards the inside. I'm not particularly sure which car that was. It might have been the Josh Newman car. Nope, Newman's still with the pack. So there was one more car that got out of shape towards the inside there. But Andrews, Tutunch, and Zach King get the worst of this. It started again with a stack up. Austin, it lends itself to this package. You can push several cars deep. Unfortunately, sometimes you see the negative consequences of pushing that many cars deep. That's what we saw right there.
Yeah, and it's a tough situation there because obviously as, Andrew Zanto started to get loose, these guys were trying not to run him over. If you're the 14 of Gordon Glidewell right there, you're thinking, hey, I'm in a good spot here if I can line up with the 06. But at the same time, you're just going so fast here that any sort of checkup at all is just going to snowball so quickly for the cars behind you. And it's exactly what we saw right there. And I want to make a quick note, Dawson, that car that we saw go down towards the inside wall was actually Dustin Kawan in the other number 14 car here tonight. I don't think he got a ton of damage, so good news there. But obviously, as mentioned, Justin Tutuchan and Seth Andrews both taking a massive impact, big front end damage to at least the 17. I would have to assume the 42 saw more of the same as well. And we're going to be coming to our one and only overtime attempt, Dawson. And I mean, with all the chaos we've had so far, I think if you're in these front 10, you do exactly what we just saw. Stay single file. There's nothing to race for right here if you are in those top 10. But the guys outside of the top 10 are going to be aggressive once again.
We'll take one more look at it, specifically what happened to the Dustin Cowan car out back. He slid, trying to jump on the brakes, trying to jump around the incident happening in front of him. He slid a little bit, got out from under him. He was able to luckily keep it off the inside wall. When I first saw that first angle we looked at, I thought for sure he was bound for the inside wall. He manages to make the save and keep that car moving, but unfortunately not going to allow him to get one of his laps back. One overtime attempt. I did mention there was a protocol for it if we needed it. The caution flag does come out there, so we will now enter an overtime period. And again, I will note, we'll start comparing things to next week. Next week, this is going to happen in the heats and the LCQs and the duels. We're going to have overtime at some point, perhaps in the Sunday afternoon race as well. If you'll remember back a year ago, that race needed overtime to get it to its scheduled distance. So noting that we're going to have overtime there, I got to think some of these drivers in here, we know Nathan Harper will be in attendance next week. We know Josh McCullough will be there. You can imagine that, guys like Dinda, Zantos, Sizemore are going to be in the field, Hunter Hastings as well. You almost now get an opportunity to practice run for a heat race. Say you're in the top 5 in a dual spot and you got to go attack a last restart, an overtime restart. You kind of get an opportunity now to see what that's like and get a chance to play some defense here if you're in one of those spots, or if you're a guy like Zach King, Josh Newman, Dana Ryan, Gordon Spain, Seth Andrews, you get a chance to play some offense here, kind of mock run what that would look like in a heat race. So it's kind of interesting. Again, we're going to have overtime. The races a year ago, several of them had overtime finishes. A lot of them did not end in the scheduled distance. So you kind of get a practice run. I got to think that means something mentally for a driver. I know it would mean something for me to get at least one test of, okay, how would I handle this? And you write it down in your notebook for next week. What works? What doesn't work? Who can I trust, perhaps, if I get lined up next to him in a heat race?
And I agree, Dawson. The one thing I would say is if this was last year's package in these next-gen cars, I'd be saying, I want to be on offense, right? Get tandem up and make that move on the last lap. But this year, with how much harder it is to generate those runs, I almost like the idea of being up front here near the end. It seems a lot easier to kind of be in control of that field, especially if you have guys that you're used to working with surrounding you. And you notice Nathan Harper here going to line up on the inside. And for Hunter Hastings on the outside, I think he's in a pretty good spot if he can get clear of the 4-car. Now, if he gets stuck up there, well, I'd say it's about anybody's bet. And the other thing worth noting is, of course, once we get to the week of the 500, the main difference between what we're seeing here and those heats, well, there's going to be $60 on the line, Dawson. So even the guys that are, going to be set up in those top 5, the transfer positions, and even the ones that are going to be in a spot to make the LCQ, you'll have to make that decision of, do you want to play it safe and advance to the next round, or do you want to try to go for that $60 for the heat win to get yourself in a situation where maybe you're playing with house money for the rest of the week?
Yeah, such a tough choice, and I think you're going to see, maybe the mindset of some drivers change based on, how many wins do you have in PGR events? I think that's going to come into play. A guy like Daniel Falkingham, I think, would be more likely to go for the money. Obviously, a bit of a special situation there. He'll have a champion's provisional, by the way, into next week's PGR 500. We'll note that throughout the week next week as well. But I'm talking guys like him, Malik Ray, Cody Nagels, guys that have won a number of times. You'll imagine they'd be willing to throw chips on the table and go for it. Whereas, other drivers, like maybe a Zachary King, for example. He took the field by storm a couple weeks ago, but maybe he thinks, hey, I'm just going to ride right here, second, third, fourth in line. I'm going to get myself in and give myself another chance so that nothing bad happens on the last lap and I make my way into another race and at least give myself another life, another opportunity on Saturday to go after it and get into Sunday. So I think you'll see that perspective change based on which driver it is. Going to be really interesting to watch. Overtime here in the only heat race of the night. Green flag. Hastings got another good start. This one not quite as good. He'll still be able to jump down in front of Nathan Harper as they work up the banking of turn number 1. Josh McCullough third in line. Austin Call, man, the loneliest man in virtual Daytona right now. Nobody going to his aid, at least through the first 5, 6, 7 cars. Colby Nill will be his first help. Call goes from second to almost outside the transfer positions. When they get back, they'll see the white flag as Hastings leads all the way back to 3. Still no move out back from the cars behind him.
No, that outside line really fell apart. No momentum right now for the 18, the 31. Trouble. Dinda goes around. He's going to collect all of them. No caution as it's just the back half of the field. We're going to stay green. Up front, the leader is going to be coming to the white flag. Hunter Hastings, Nathan Harper, and Joshua McCullough all lined up, 1, 2, 3. Now the question becomes, who is going to make the move? Do they all stay in line? You go all the way back to that 10th and final transfer position. Zachary King, not even in touch with this lead draft. So for these front guys, all they got to do is finish. Still single file as they work on to the super stretch for the final time in the only heat race of the night. Joshua McCullough, watch for the 05 to maybe make a move up front. Hastings still leads as they head towards turn 3.
Everybody pushing so far, so good. Nobody leaning out of line. Again, all these guys are going to make it, but your starting position may be upped a little bit if you get around the car in front of you. Does anybody make a move off turn 4? There's the lean by Josh McCullough. He's going to go for it. He'll take Steve Sizemore with him. Hastings has to block. Top, then bottom. Great defense. Hastings wins it at the line. McCullough almost gets the job done, but Hastings hangs on. That was some good defense right there to get just enough momentum to get to the start-finish line. He'll start first amongst the drivers out of the heat race, and an entertaining heat race. How about that? Again, may mirror something you see next week. Hastings, McCullough, Sizemore, the top 3.
Yeah, and how about that for a finish? Only 100th of a second separating Hunter Hastings from Joshua McCullough. And I'll tell you what, Dawson, got a little risky there when he tried to throw that block, but you mentioned testing the waters to see what you could do this week so that you can apply it next week. I think that's exactly what Hunter Hastings did. It worked out for him in that situation, and man, if that's any indication of what we're going to see next week, we are going to be in for a good one. And I'll tell you what, Steve Sizemore, he took a peek there coming down to the line as well. A lot of excitement, but for the cars out back that we saw that big wreck coming to the white, that's exactly the kind of calamity that you have to worry about if you catch yourself outside of a transfer spot in one of these heat races.
So we'll get into a bit of a warm-up now for the 3 minutes. By the way, the last driver in that spot, there were 9 cars that finished back to Austin Call that were not in the crash in turn 1. And then from there on, it was a bit of chaos as guys tried to scramble out of the crash. Zachary King, who was sandwiched against the outside wall, managed to finish 10th. So he'll get the final spot in this feature race coming up. Bit of a warm-up period coming up for these guys before we get going here in the feature race. So what we're going to do, we're going to take our only break of the night, hopefully, here at Daytona while these guys get warmed up to go racing. We'll be right back for more action from the Daytona International Speedway. It's feature racing coming up. You don't want to miss it. Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. We're about to get underway for the feature race, and Something that came across really late, a bit of a rule change coming into effect tonight as well. It was not relayed till the heat was actually going on. We are going to invert the field completely. All 40 cars are going to invert for tonight's race. So the best qualifying time is actually going to start all the way at the tail end in the 40th position. The 10 guys that just came out of the last chance qualifier, the heat race rather, are going to start up front. So it changes the dynamic just a little bit here for the guys at the front of the field that expected to be at the front of the field. They are not going to be there for this feature race, and that is why, as we bring you to the starting grid, you will see that starting on the pole is actually going to be Zachary King, who just came out of that heat race a moment ago. He'll start in the first position. Alongside him, it's Gordon Spain. In the 52, he finished second. Row 2, Kyle Zittel and Austin Call. Row 3 going to be Gordon Glidewell and Andrew Zanto. Nathan Harper and Steve Sizemore on row number 4. Rounding out the top 10, Josh McCullough and Hunter Hastings, as their field got inverted as well.
Starting the 11th spot here for the feature tonight, going to be Danny Barnes, one of the veterans, to his outside. How about David Brunson in the number 5? It'll be Andrew Pileshi, and I apologize if I did pronounce that last name wrong. He'll roll off 13th with Michael Barksdale to his outside in the 00. Mark Von Dell and Nash Brambilla, two of the familiars to the PGR side of things. They'll roll off in row number 8. And then it's going to be Gallon Kane back in row 17, make that the 17th spot, with Ethan Eckert to his outside in 18th. And row number 10 is going to be Dwayne Drummond and David Flanagan.
Row 11, Dylan Jones in the 011 and Mike Davenport for Team PGR. Back on row 12, going to be James Waring under the Dega Pros banner, and Malik Ray, the winningest driver in the series right now. He'll go from 24th. Back on row 13, it's Maxwell Caldwell and Dominic Wright. On row 14, the captain for Dega Pros, John Ward, and the Jack Shacks, Evan Carlbon. On row 15, Vicente Guerrero in the 46 and Cody Nagels in the 6, pair of guys that know each other well.
For the Jack Shack, it'll be Joe Herta in 31st. Charlie Morgan to his outside in 32nd. Daniel Falkingham defending PGR 500 winner. He will roll off from the 33rd spot with Chase Mistretta to his outside in 34th. Jeff Merck back in 35th. It'll be Justin Melichar to his outside in 36th. Back in 37, Trevor Osranoff, another one of the Jack Shack drivers. We know how good he is here at Daytona. Stephen Miles, he's won a couple of these recruitment races. We'll see if he can make it 3 in a row here tonight. He'll roll off from 38th. And back in the final 2 positions in row number 20 tonight is going to be Corey Wright and Jackson Buys.
So big field, 40 cars, a little bit bigger than we're used to in these recruitment races, and a longer distance as well. We're going to run 60 laps tonight. Fuel could become a factor. Pit stops could come into play. That's if we get some green flag racing. 60 laps, payouts on the line, free entries on the line, a lot to race for. One of the final recruitment races for the PGR 500. Zach King brings him into the restart zone. Green flag, we're underway for the feature from Daytona.
Field getting up to full pace for the first time here in the feature tonight at Daytona. On the outside, leading the way, though, it is currently the 52, Gordon Spain with a big run. He's going to clear down. That gives an opportunity to Austin Call, who we saw barely sneak his way in after not getting any help towards the end of his heat race. 3 wide, though, already out back. And as they're coming to the stripe, guess who? Malik Ray. He's ready to go to the front, and he's got some help behind him.
Can't possibly be surprised. Malik Ray is the first car to jump way out of line, all the way to the safer barrier, the high rent district. He's rim riding. It's a bit interesting. The third line traditionally with this aero package and the racing that we'd seen so far had not really been very favorable under the default conditions. But for the PGR 500, there is a brand new setup on board these race cars from Team Watson Racing Setups. I want to thank them for that as well. that's been tested over the last week in these recruitment races and otherwise, and the third line's become a bit more viable. You can actually make it work. If you have the right combo of cars, the right timing, enough of a run, you can actually make some ground up. We saw it last week in these recruitment races. Cody Nagels was able to make up a ton of ground late in that one. It fizzles out here as Nagels drops all the way to the bottom. Malik Ray, Mike Davenport want to keep it going. A couple cars trying to jump up with him. It's just not panning out for him very well right now. But interesting to me that it hung around for that long. It's not something we're used to with the new aero conditions of this next-gen race car.
Yeah, it's a little different, and one thing I want to note from what I've been hearing from drivers with this new Team Watson Racing setup is, of course, that the car's still not going to be able to get those big runs like they used to, but it does add a little bit more of that consistency with the pushing element. You'll see guys jump out and get tandemed up and be able to at least make some progress towards the front versus, of course, the baseline setup. And obviously handling has looked a lot better with these race cars as well. Track temp on the cooler side, that is not working in the favor of that third lane. But on the outside, Nathan Harper has gotten tandemed up with the 06 of Andrew Zonto. They're going to roll up even with the fourth lane. But up front, it is all Zachary King, one of the drivers who came into the field as a rookie.
Yeah, King.
Just a week ago, here he is leading at the World Center of Racing.
Yeah, King ran the recruitment race a couple of weeks ago, and it was one that was admittedly a bit of a lighter field. There were some guys running in another promotion. King came in, and he took the field by storm. He ran up front in both his heat race and in the feature race. He was fantastic a couple of weeks ago, playing defense, throwing blocks, managing lanes, making moves. He was doing it all like a pro. Right here, he's going to get hung out, though. And it's a little bit of a welcome to PGR moment for him again as Austin Call jumps around the outside. He's got Gordon Spain with him. Meanwhile, there they go again. Malik Ray on the outside. He's got his teammate Ethan Eckert with him. Remember how well those two, as well as Stephen Miles, worked together in last week's recruitment race to get a victory for that team. It's a really solid look heading into next week. Certainly some of the ones to watch. Now, Austin Call gets ditched. He's going to go all the way to safer barrier. He's actually going to go way backwards here. Does not pick up Carl Bond in the middle. Spain to the bottom. He'll bring Nathan Harper, Andrew Santo, and Steve Sizemore to the party as they work back into three. Gordon Spain to the lead. Evan Carl Bond leads the middle. He's got the captain for Dega Pros behind him. Welcome to the front, John Ward.
3 Chevys, a Ford, and a Toyota, all inside of your top 5. The 06 is Zonto going to jump back up as they work into the tri-oval. This time it'll be 6 of 60 laps complete. And I know it's early. Watch out. The 04, that's Nathan Harper. Big slide, but he's able to save it. Now he's got to try to merge back up onto the racetrack. Oh, man, what a close call that was. Nathan Harper going to lose all his help as he's not able to get back on. Now the 4-car almost spins. And Dawson, he is going to need a caution, but as we turn our attention back to the front, leading the way continues to be the 52 of Gordon Spain. Zonto, though, making a charge on the outside with a push from the Dega Pros captain.
How about the gains for Ward and Carl Bond? Plus 23, plus 25, respectfully, for those two cars as they're both now inside the top 5. One car going to go 1 lap down. It'll be the only car 1 lap down. That's Vicente Guerrero. He missed the grid tonight. An all-new black and green Chevrolet for him. He missed the grid. He'll go a lap down. He'll have to have a caution at some point. 7 up and down already. How about 54 to go? And it has been fast and furious, hot and heavy here at the front. Big move to the inside. Here comes Ward. He moves around Santo, who has held his own up on the outside. Look at that inside-outside move from Carl Bond out back of him. As one car continues to try to work the outside, that was Davenport. He'll get passed up by Merck. And a couple of other cars as well. Daniel Falkingham. Lots of guys in new paint schemes, rocking their PGR 500 looks tonight. Merck is one of those cars. Falkingham is one of those cars. There's another car back behind them, I believe, that is doing the same. Move around the outside again. Zonto gets ditched. This time it's by Hunter Hastings. He'll bring Carl Bond with the party with him. And he'll also bring Cody Nagels back to the front. Nagels turns left. Carl Bond wants to lead. This is insanity up front right now.
Yeah, I don't think these guys know they're only 8 laps into this one. Now they're going to go 3 wide. Jeff Merck to the outside. How about this for a run? Can the 60 find a way to get clear? Not yet, but Falkingham's going to jump to the high side. 2, make it a 3-car tandem. Hastings now finds himself as the odd man out. Still 3 wide down the super stretch. Nagels looks for a move on Carl Bond. They'll get back to 2 wide. And just like that, 2 of the NBG teammates find a way to get themselves connected. And I believe it's actually a trio here tonight, as the 39 of Falkingham, I believe, working with the 60 and the 6 as well. But, man, I'll tell you what, Dawson, for Carl Bond, he has been absolutely lights out since the start of this race. It's paid off. He got himself the lead, but now here comes Nagels. He'll lead lap 9 here at Daytona.
Nagels plus 29, Merck plus 33, Falkingham plus 30 as those three get to the front. Some of the most accomplished drivers in the series getting to the front of the field early here on lap number 9. Merck turns left. He wants the lead, or at least to get the engine cooled down. He'll go to the push of Karlbahn, who you talked about has been on the right side of a lot of stuff here in the lead up to Speed Weeks. He has been very, very solid. It's been solid so far tonight. He's the lead pusher on the inside. Middle gets the run, though. Nagels to the lead. Falkingham to second. Hastings forward to third. They'll bring Barksdale to the party with them. First time we've seen that bright red Chevrolet up front tonight, as he'll go to fourth on the outside. Big move. How about Falkingham? He wants the lead. The defending champ is going to lead it at the line, trying to defend the crown next week. Goes to the lead here on lap 10.
That was a pretty stout move right there from Daniel Falkingham. Nagel's not going to try to block it, at least not this early, but taking a note on, of course, the 6 car, Cody Nagels, the driver out of Missouri. He hasn't won the PGR 500, Dawson, but he actually won a race that had an even bigger payout. You look back to the ERA Omega Cup Spring Bowl, where he was able to find victory lane at Daytona, and he won himself $4,000 in that race. So he knows how to get it done in these big events. He'll be certainly a favorite during the week of 500. Watch out, we had one car go up. Did everybody save it? Oh my goodness, flashbacks to Kevin LePage. What in the world was that?
Yeah, one car going a lap down. This is going to separate the field quite a bit. About 15 cars are going to lose the draft as a part of this, and it includes a number of the cars out of the Jack Shack stable, Mark Vondell as well. Not exactly sure which car that was. Looks like it might have been James Waring that got down on the apron and it rolled back up on him, and he got back up into the field. Luckily for everyone and for him, he was able to keep it rolling, but now caution closer to the front. The caution flag has come out. And I'll tell you what, Austin, I'm unsure what this one is. Nothing on my timing that lists that anybody has crashed, but a caution flag is out nonetheless for the first time at Daytona. I wonder if it is sprung from the James Waring incident.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure here either, Dawson. I didn't get anything on my timing either. I thought I may have saw one off, but I just went and looked back, and that was just part of the checkup from the caution. So I'm not sure. Unless we get a confirmation here from race control, I'm not too sure what this caution was for. The front pack certainly looked okay. Now, we did have a couple of other packs running here, but again, no data reported here on any issues with those drivers. And, of course, James Waring, after that close call, was able to save it. So not sure what the case is, but does have us under our first caution here of the night.
So watch here, Waring going a lap down, just rolls up on the track. Everybody gets around him, though. You see Kyle Zittel had to go up near the wall. Bondell and a couple of others have some problems out back, but nobody spins. We can keep an eye on this tail end pack. We know it's nobody from the front pack because we saw the front pack just now. Nobody had fallen off the pace. They were all still together. We can keep an eye back here around the David Flanagan group. Maybe we get an idea of something that happens, but I'm not certainly seeing anything from where I'm looking here. And perhaps the caution just thrown out of precaution for the Waring incident back in turn 3. That's my only guess at this point. I mean, you can see on the apron down there on the bottom, there's no cars off the pace. So something happened that has triggered the yellow flag here at Daytona, but no one has crashed. It's likely because of the Waring incident, and that drags us to a stop here on lap 12. We saw Waring go to the apron, come back up, and in that scenario, Austin, I mean, he's on the brakes, but it takes a lot of slowdown to get you in position and not run back up the track. Waring does it, but good on everyone from about Kyle Zittel on back. That was about the back half of the field. Good on them for somehow avoiding a big incident. That should have been a lot bigger than it was.
Yeah, and it is tough here. As you see, the whole field here are going to come down to pit road for the first stop of the night. But, it's so difficult when you get in a position like that where you're going off track at still high speed coming into the corner because there's no transition between the apron and the banking. It goes from flat to 30 degrees of banking. So as you mentioned, all that momentum's got to go somewhere, and you really can't save it and keep it below the apron. And in that case, it was a great job of heads-up driving by everybody to make sure that incident wasn't any worse than obviously it certainly could have been. And pit stops here for a lot of guys, Dawson. Looks like fuel only was the call, and the 6 in Eagles will lead him out. The 39 of Falkingham got held up just briefly, but he'll still hold on to second. Merck's going to come out third. Hunter Hastings, John Ward round out the top 5. Zato, Karlbahn, Barksdale, Spain, and Brambilla all inside the top 10 here for what's going to be the first restart of the night.
Yeah, so fuel obviously an issue, a 60-lap race, some pit stops to account for at the very least. If it's a full fuel load, you can only go about 35 laps, so still not anywhere close to good to go on fuel for these guys. So pit stops are still going to continue to be an issue going on throughout the race. Cody Nagels leads the race off pit road. Did get some confirmation from up top in the race control tower. The caution was thrown because of the incident with James Waring, or the near incident rather with James Waring. It was thrown a little bit late compared to when the incident occurred, but did get confirmation that Waring coming back up, and the consequences of that are what led to the caution being thrown. So everybody gets back together and gets another shot at it. Before that, though, goodness, the racing up front, and again, you know, over the past couple weeks, guys have been getting used to this new version of the Gen 7 race car. For well over a year, we had a version of this car that did not exactly mirror reality per se. You could get big runs by yourself. You could do things with two cars. You weren't really, you know, kind of stuck in two lanes trying to push 6 cars deep, as you'll see here in a couple weeks in real life speed weeks or at Talladega in April. You were kind of able to make free runs wherever you wanted to, and it was a very different style of racing. Now, it more narrowly, you know, mirrors what we see in real life with the 2x2 where you have to push. I'll tell you what, tonight though, even on a cold track, this racing has been unreal to this point. The lines are both able to move if you get the right pushers. The third line's able to do a little bit of work, but there's a lot of shuffling going on at the front right now, more than I thought we'd see. I thought we'd see a little bit more gridlock so far in this one, Austin. I mean, these guys are all over the place, right, left, making moves, throwing blocks. It's more akin to what we saw last year. It's not quite exactly the same, but it's, I think, the closest that we've gotten so far.
Yeah, and, you know, for the guys that aren't on the big teams, obviously you're up here getting aggressive, looking to see if you can find a dancing partner for later on. And then, you know, I want to talk about the team aspect, because I think that's going to be equally as important as any sort of, you know, solo effort you can make in the race. We already talk about whenever you come to these super speedways, you got to have friends to work with. But we see some of these teams that are, you know, 4+ cars deep in terms of how many drivers they have. And I know you can obviously still get runs, Dawson, but with it being a little bit tougher, I just think if you get one of these big teams that gets themselves stationed up front, taking maybe the first, I don't know, 4 to 5 of the top spots, I think it's going to be so hard to either break those guys up or find a way to get around all of them. And that makes it even that much more important to try to experiment now. What can you do to get yourself to the front of the field, even if you don't have a lot of teammates around you? Now, Hunter Hastings here on the outside, I don't believe he's working with NBG. That's going to be the first 3 cars to line up here for this restart, so we'll see what the 44 and the 06 can do. Michael Barksdale, good run going for him, as you see his name now up here towards the front of the field. Jeff Merckx up over 30 spots from where he started this race at. And with that first pit stop out of the way, Dawson, curious to see, do they turn the intensity down or do they keep the aggression level up here?
Knowing the guys at the front of the field, I mean, you're talking Daniel Falkingham, Cody Nagels, Jeff Merck, John Ward, Evan Carlbine. You're talking some of the regulars. I don't see them being able to turn that temperature dial down. I'm not sure it's really in their vocabulary to turn that dial down very much. We'll see if they prove me wrong here. Nagels, Falkingham are your 2 leaders. Back into the restart zone. First restart of the night so far. Green flag back in the air. It's a good jump on the inside for the gold and black number 6 of Cody Nagels. He'll go right to the outside. Well, back down to the bottom. Nagels a little bit indecisive there. Goes back down to Jeff Merck where the better push is. Merck going to actually double clear up are the NBG cars. That's Merck and Nagels. They'll leave Ward and Carlbahn on the inside reeling for some help. They'll get it here with Andrew Zanto, but Spain ducks out. And if you look out the mirror, if you're Andrew Zanto, now you got some help coming with Brambilla, but the numbers are up top, working back to 3. 6 cars against 4 as they try to work in behind them, but NBG triple clear on the outside. All 3 cars now well clear of the inside lane.
And did you see what they did right there? They got 4 cars tandemmed up. That's what it's going to take. I know it's uncomfortable, but we've just seen the biggest runs have came from the lines that are able to push 4 to 6 cars deep. Now we got one trying to cut up through the middle right here. Watch out, this is going to get a little bit tight here, trying to figure out exactly who that was. Andrew Zanto is still up towards the front, but stuck in the middle there for just a moment. That might have been, was that Michael Barksdale? No, it was just behind him. Looks like maybe the 69 right there. I believe that's Charlie Morgan, who is trying to split the gap, but he's found his way back into the outside line. Mike Davenport trying to make his way back to the front as well. For the most part, the field, though, staying 2x2 down the super stretch. We're already quarter of the way through this race, and the intensity has not been quite as aggressive as it was throughout the entirety of that first run. But that may be in part because you've got NBG well in control up front with Cody Nagels leading. Jeff Merck trying to fight back on the inside.
Yeah, Merck turned left just a moment ago, trying to cool the engine off perhaps in the 60. He's now leading the inside with John Ward as the pusher. Nagels, Falkingham, Hastings, your top three on the outside. Not much movement this time around. So guys behind them turning the intensity down perhaps a little bit. Now you'll see some, though. Falkingham off the bumper of Nagels. Ward pushing hard on the back of Jeff Merck, trying to get him clear. And it's Jeff Merck. Brand new colors for him for the PGR 500. A similar variant to what we're used to seeing, but a little bit different look. Ward, what is now a gray and yellow and red Chevrolet Camaro for the PGR 500. So new look for him. He'll jump out to the lead and back to the push of his teammate Cody Nagels. John Ward back to leading the inside. Going to get to cool off here for a moment. Out back starting to fill in. You talked about Morgan and Barksdale. Mark Vondell is making his way forward here as well in car 59. He's up to 14th. He is 7th or 8th on the outside lane right now. Malik Ray, Josh McCullough, Mike Davenport, some of the other cars that are starting to make their way forward a little. Not a lot. It's tough sledding in this next-gen race car. You got to be more patient than we're used to. But those guys are starting to work their way up, and not too far behind them, a guy who is on a recruitment race heater, Steven Miles, looking for another one. He's going to try the outside here with Bies and Eckert. A trio of teammates lead the top side.
Yeah, and they're going to see if they can get the spark going right here. The question is, does the one of Malik Ray jump up to go with him, or does he stay low? Eckert's going to now pull up to the back bumper of Miles. Malik Ray's going to jump out. He likes what he sees. Mark Vondell now finds himself in the middle of three wide, and as they come into the tri-oval, Malik Ray is going to have an opportunity here. We'll have to see how much that run can charge up. But up front, Merck with a little bit of a gap. That checks back up. Trouble. Two going to spin to the inside. Watch out as they're going to potentially come back up the track. Big wreck into turn one.
This is going to collect a lot of them here. Sizemore's in it. Gordon Spain is in it. A number of cars involved. Andrew Palesci is in it. Mark Vondell is in it in the 59. Barnes, Dominic Wright, Trevor Oswornoth was behind the field. Looks like he's just coming onto the scene now. Same with Dwayne Drummond. But a number of cars not so lucky to get out of that one. I think Zanto was the first car I saw out of shape in that red Chevrolet. Let's go back and take a look and see if that is the case for what happened here towards the middle of the pack. This was right around, actually, Malik Ray, who we were just looking at. And we saw it get started, but boy, what in the world happens to get them that far out of shape behind them here? Oh, it's netcode contact there, Zanto and Barksdale. They're going to get Gordon Spain. And boy, from here, I'm not particularly sure where this starts. I think it might be Spain coming back up and collecting the field, but this gets big in a hurry. And, oh, it's actually a separate incident, a couple of separate incidents here. Vondell, Sizemore, one other car turning the outside wall. Zachary King's in it as well. Then Spain comes back up. He collects Josh McCullough, Dylan Jones. A couple more cars in it. Gordon Glidewell is involved. Corey Wright is involved. Look back out behind them. Danny Barnes, David Flanagan is in it. Another couple cars involved towards the back as well. You see Dominic Wright sliding down to the inside. This is double-digit cars, and it got started in a number of different places. So I'll have to go back and look at Mark Vondell, I guess, is the car we'll look at for the first one that I saw get around of the other cars. So let's go back and take a look at Vondell here. I thought it was just one car coming back up into the field. Turns out this was actually more than one incident. So you see up ahead, the Zanto and Spain cars dive to the inside. They get turned. Oh, Vondell got hit from behind. In the stack-up, as guys try to scramble, Vondell gets hit from behind and then actually gets hooked by Sizemore into the outside wall. And then you're going to see behind them, you'll see more cars come in, but watch Gordon Spain up ahead as he'll come back up into the field. There's the damage to McCullough and Jones. Kyle Zittel may have gotten a piece of that in the 53. Heck of a job by a couple cars to get through it. Melikar is one of them. Estrella was another one. But boy, that turned from 2 cars into 10 really fast, and it's all, again, a product of a stack-up after a crash and a couple guys coming back up onto the racetrack.
Yeah, and I think everybody panics, obviously, when you see 2 cars going to the apron that late. They kind of know what's going to happen here by the time we get to turn 1. But, you know, nothing that I think Sizemore does wrong there, and it's an unfortunate break for the 59 of Mark Vondell. Just as you mentioned, Dawson, you know, those guys trying to check up for the incident that took place in front, and they kind of get bottled up. One thing leads to another, and that was a big impact for the 59 of Mark Vondell. That car likely going to have some pretty heavy damage. I'd be shocked if he's able to continue with any sort of pace. But then for some of the other guys that got involved, I think a lot of these cars are repairable. but obviously you're going to lose all your track position now. Still a long ways to go, though, Dawson, and I've heard a lot of guys say before, if you're going to have a problem, you want to have it early. We're just now about a third of the way through this race, and if this was a duel, you can't just sit here and give up. You got to do everything you can to try to get back in the fight. Jeff Merck, though, is going to lead us back to green, and that pit stop now puts us that one step closer to the final fuel window here tonight.
Yeah, we're getting really close now. If it is indeed a 100% fuel load, that would be about 35 laps. Half would be about 17. We anticipate a full fuel load as the conditions are as close to what we'll see next week during the heat racing and the dual racing and the 500 as possible. So imagine that is the case. Guys come down here with still 40 to go, so still outside the window. Merck continues to be the leader, but the list of customers on pit road has gone up. Here are the cars still sitting there. Corey Wright, Zachary King, Gordon Spain, James Waring, Gordon Glidewell, Andrew Santos, Steve Sizemore, Danny Barnes, Dylan Jones, David Flanagan, Dominic Wright, Vicente Guerrero, and Mark Vondel. Guerrero was the car that was listed, I believe, with the 13 or the 14 on the side. It is actually the 46 on the timing and scoring. He was that bright green and black car that I saw get involved as well. So he is repairing damage. So a number of cars now on pit road repairing some form of damage after the first big crash we've seen really all night so far. You mentioned Jeff Merck leading the way. John Ward's going to be second. Hunter Hastings and Malik Ray will be third and fourth, so that paid off well for the Ray, Buys, Miles, Eckert contingent as they all gain spots. Ray will be fourth. Nagels is fifth. Jackson Buys up to sixth. Stephen Miles is seventh. Nash Brambilla quietly has crept into the picture here. He's eighth. Evan Carlbahn, we mentioned him. He is ninth. Nathan Harper, by the way, after the last couple cautions, we saw his slide and save earlier. He's back up to 10th, so the cautions have helped him. Talked about Eckert as well in that group that went to the third line. He's just outside the top 10 in 11th. Daniel Falkingham drops to 13th here. Not sure what the trouble was on pit road for the 39, but he has come off of pit road 13th, so we'll see if he can work his way back up. Some guys now, by virtue of that crash, that are kind of in the picture that weren't before. Justin Melikar, Chase Mistretta. We talked about Barksdale a little bit. We talked about Eckert and Buys and Miles just a little bit. Some new players up front, either by the third line or by the crashes. Going to change the dynamic up front. Now, Ray, Buys, Eckert, Miles have made it work. Do we think anybody else may try to take that third line for a spin and try to work it for themselves?
Well, I think somebody's going to try. The question is, do you have enough help behind you to actually make it work? And I will say it's a little interesting. We know, obviously, Malik working with quite a few talented drivers out in the field here tonight, and it still took them longer than what I would have anticipated to get to the front of the field. So that's definitely another note that's going to be getting jotted down here ahead of preparations for next week. Even if you got a lot of help, it's not something that's just going to magically happen in one lap. You got to start working on that process early. So as you get late into this race, keep that in mind if there is some sort of caution in the last few laps, because an overtime finish here, I think, means that you got to stick together and then not make that run until you feel like you've got plenty of help behind you, because it still seems like it takes a little bit to get going. Now, on the outside here for John Ward and Malik Ray, see if they can match Jeff Merck. I'd be curious if the 60 jumps up or if he'll stay down in line, knowing that he's got the 6 of Cody Nagels just a couple rows behind him.
Coming back to the green flag, 38 laps to go, almost to the halfway point of this recruitment race feature. Green flag is in the air, and Merck is off and running, and it's decision time, and he'll choose option number 1. He's going to jump up with the help of John Ward. He'll leave Hastings to lead the inside lane. Cody Nagels is the pusher there. Miles into the picture. Up top, Ward, Ray, Buys, and then Brambilla are the pushers up there. Merck will stay high for now. Bottom line coming. Charlie Morgan trying to make the third line work. Chase Mistretta filled that gap awfully quickly in the bright black and pink number 8, about 7 rows deep on the outside. Big blink for him. He has completely disappeared. This is going to get dicey here going into turn 3 if he doesn't come back on track. And he has completely disappeared from our screens here as Mistretta experiences a major technical issue in the mid portions of this race. Merck continues to lead off 4. Back down the line, 24 on the board, turning left. John Ward wants a chance at the lead, but the push will be outside first. It's Ray to the back of Jeff Merck. He'll be the pusher. Ward will have Hastings back to 2x2 up front. Man, that was almost a really dicey push. Ward was sideways.
Yes, it was, and as they stay 2x2 up front, about a half a second breakaway between that first and second pack has now closed to less than nothing. Joshua McCullough now back to the back bumper here of the 69. That's going to be the next man that he'll try to see if he can pass up. 24 of 60 laps complete, and up front, Malik Ray has now made his way up to second. Jeff Merck leads. And the question is, what does the one car do? We saw just a week ago, Malik kind of sticking that middle line in these cars. You heard a couple guys mentioning they hadn't seen that work before. So we'll have to see if he's content with staying there, if he tries to find a way to get around this 60 in line himself, and teammate Jackson buys up for a 1-2. Now Malik Ray is going to go to the bottom into turn 1. That'll get him a run. Merck stays up top. The 92 award pushing, but this is what I'm talking about, Dawson. When it's an even push like what we're seeing now, so hard to tell which lane's going to get the advantage.
So far, it's the bottom, at least for the moment, but the outside comes roaring back. It's Merck now with Buys as the pusher, and Merck stays in the lead, is going to maintain control of this race. Buys is another one I think you got to watch out for next week. Maybe a name that not enough people are talking about. We talk about the teammate dynamic. He's got a good set of them now, and he has run awfully well in this car on this racetrack across multiple series, and headed into next week is on one of the best momentum tracks in the field. He now is the pusher on the outside. Inside got a huge jump right there. And big move to the outside. Hastings beats John Ward to the punch. How about that for the 64? Ray's going to block him all the way to the fence. Ward says, thank you very much. And it's John Ward that basically gets a free run to the lead. He'll bring Nagels with him. And all of a sudden, here's another move to the outside. This time it's Nagels that shuffles his way up. He wants to lead back. Miles now the lead pusher on the inside. Boy, a bit of a surprising move. A bit of a miscalculation from Malik Ray. He threw a block all the way to the outside wall. Right as he got to the lead, he gets relegated back to the 4th position, just like that. Is back in the pack. Here comes another run on the 3rd lane. It's Melikar from 10 rows deep. He wants to make it happen, but not much doing up there right now for McCullough, and Morgan.
But you know what Malik did by making that move, Dawson? He's learning. He knows what he can do and what he can't do, and that's what makes him so strong. The winningest driver in PGR Series history, but still looking to crown that ever-elusive PGR 500 victory. Here comes that 3rd lane once again. Looking to the high side this time. Is that Trevor Osranoff potentially? One of the Jack Shack drivers. Is he trying to find his way to the front here? We talked about being aggressive and when it's the best time to do it. Osranoff was leading the 3rd. Falkingham jumps out. And as we go into turn 3, we are going to have now multiple rows of 3-wide racing here at Daytona. Falkingham trying to draw even with Hunter Hastings and John Ward. Nagels up front. Malik on the bottom. Here comes Falkingham. He's going to lead as they cross the start lap 28.
And this is exactly what we saw back on Wednesday with Nagels and Zach Harrison. If you'll remember that run, they got to the front. When they wait for those middle 2 lanes to get hot, you can really make something happen up there in the penthouse against a safer barrier. Now they're going to split as they get to the front. Oswarnoff looked for the lead. He gets no help. Ray's going to jump back up to the middle. Falkingham leads that lane. Joe Huerta is that red, white, and blue unsponsored car in the center. He's now going to get the push from Ray. The 3rd line continues coming forward. Corey Wright now gets to the front. He wants to lead in turn 3. Josh McCullough has made it to the party. Another couple cars, Melikar, Waring coming to the party as well. New players to the front have taken these guys by storm and potentially by surprise as they work their way off turn 4. This is more reminiscent of what we saw a year ago in the PGR 500. 3 by 3 by 3, 5 rows deep in the field. Falkingham goes to the lead. McCullough is the pusher. Now he wants to lead in turn 1. Josh McCullough turns left. He's going to go a nose ahead of Falkingham. He'll get the lead on the push from Wright. All of a sudden, the lead pack completely thrown into shambles. A complete rearrangement of the leaders working down the back. Now it's Wright again to the outside, but big shot on the inside. This one's from Oswarnoff.
We're really starting to see that TWRS setup put on a show here at Daytona. 3 wide, multiple lanes, and we have been seeing the leaders shuffling like crazy over the last couple laps. Whoa! Big block by Joshua McCullough up front as he tried to cover the move from Trevor Osranoff. He makes it work that time, but you got to know the 89 saying, hey, you do that again, I may not cut you as big of a break next time. Back to 2x2 at the front of the field. Osranoff leads the outside, and it's one of the McCullough Motorsports drivers leading the inside. Further back, Justin Melikar continues to see if he can get lined up with a push from James Waring. Nothing doing just yet, and all that 3 wide, Dawson, has now fizzled back out to 2x2 down the super stretch.
But so interesting to me that we know now that we can do it, because for a long time we wondered if it was even going to be possible in this new version, if you will, of the Gen 7 race car. We wondered if we would ever get an opportunity to run 3 wide like we used to, or anywhere close to that. We just proved that we can. Now, it's not going to last forever, but it certainly now can work. And Falkingham, Oswarnoff, Corey Wright, Josh McCullough just proved that it absolutely can work, especially with this brand new TWRS setup underneath the hood of these race cars. Move up front, Falkingham wants the lead, he turned left. He goes to the push of Corey Wright. Outside, it's a pair of teammates, Osbornoff with his teammate Joe Huerta in his rearview mirror pushing him along. Out back there trying to make it work again. It was Ethan Eckert. It was the first car I saw get out of line with Jackson Byes, his teammate. And they go back into line about 10 rows deep in the field. Now we've settled it back down. As soon as we kind of got out of our seats just a little bit, it tunes back down to 2 wide. Not for long. Here comes Melikar. He's to the outside in the 84, but nobody going to go with him this time around. He'll have no help up there on that outside lane. He'll have to fade back in right behind David Brunson, who makes his way inside the top 10 for the first time tonight. The Amazon Prime Chevrolet about 5 rows deep. He works into the top 10 for the first time. As the guys rumble back past the line, 29 to go, just past halfway. Huerta had the lead for a moment. Osbornoff gets back around him. Jack Shack on the front row, and BG on the second, off 2.
If you're Brunson, this is an interesting spot to be in, Dawson. This is one of those drivers that doesn't have a big team out here, and, you know, he's got a couple of guys that maybe go with him right now. You look back to Davenport, the 69 maybe as well, but I think if you find yourself in a spot like this in either the heat race, the LCQ, or the duels, this is where you really got to be conservative and smart about what you want to do. You take a big risk, could lead to a big reward, but at the same time, could also lead to getting shuffled to the back of the pack as we cross the line. 33 of 60 laps complete. We are a few over halfway, and the intensity's starting to ramp up once again. Here comes Jackson Byes up to the back bumper of Morgan on that third lane, trying to make it happen, but nothing doing. Meanwhile, at the front, Trevor Osbornoff leads on the bottom. Joe Huerta up top to Jack Shack, currently sitting first and third. Falkingham, though, now going to make a look to the inside, down the super stretch.
Tell you, one of the cars I've had my eyes on for about 3 laps now that's been knifing his way through the field is Ethan Eckert. The AutoZone Ford Mustang's up to the 9th position on the racetrack now. 5th in line on the inside line, you see him there, the orange and white and black Ford Mustang, last year's pole sitter for the PGR 500, looking to try to get his way back into the race. Not only that, but try to start on the front row again. Tonight so far has not been the loudest of nights from him in terms of being at the front of the field, but now starting to work his way into the picture as drivers start to single out. Signals to me that guys are starting to think about fuel mileage, at least from about 15th on back. Up front, it's going to continue to be more of the same. Huerta around his teammate. He wants the lead. He'll get it here off turn 2. Nagels goes with him. Hastings is with them as well. Look for the NBG cars to potentially take a turn out of line here, unless they all work down to the bottom, which is exactly what they'll do. Jeff Merck going to hang a right. Hastings going to go with him. That was tight there. Nagels, Hastings, and Merck. They make it work, and it's Nagels, former Omega Cup Spring Bowl champion. You talked about him. He goes back to the lead and right back down to the front. An authoritative move there from Nagels. Stack up back around 3rd or 4th in the middle lane as Charlie Morgan managed to get his way up here. Nagels up to block trouble. Merck gets turned sideways. Huerta's trying to make the save. How did we keep it green? Joe Huerta with the save of the night so far.
Oh my goodness, that doesn't happen here. You cannot save that race car in that scenario, but somehow everybody finds the way to do it. Oh man, this is going to cost a lot of time though for the 5 car who we talked about, David Brunson, who was having a good night. He'll have to get grouped back together here with, it looks like, the 89 of Trevor Osbornoff. Those two going to need a caution as they will fall back to the second group. 35 of 60 laps complete up front. Cody Nagels, though, continues to lead. The 60 of Jeff Merck second, Falkingham third. But as mentioned, Dawson, seems like the pace may be starting to settle down a little bit. These guys finding a rhythm. You wonder if fuel saving is in the question here with now 25 laps to go.
Well, it's not fuel saving, Austin. They're not saving anymore because they are on pit road. Pit stops for the first time tonight. This first group going to be Eckert, Harper, Barksdale, Colin Kane, Nashmer and Bill, Malik Ray, Stephen Miles, and Jackson Byes that will bring their race cars to pit road. The first cycle of the night here with 25 laps to go. Now, will these guys answer here at the front of the field? Got to imagine those conversations are being had. By the way, a pack that dropped off the pace along with Brunson and Osbornoff. Danny Barnes, Dylan Jones, Dwayne Drummond, Zach King, Vicente Guerrero, Steve Sizemore, David Flanagan, and Andrew Zanto all off the pace in a second group. They're going to need a caution as well. Second round here off turn 4. It's a number of team cars coming together. Waring spins out of line. Is going to spin into the grass. He'll have to boot it. He's going to spin it into the infield grass. He'll have to get it back around and come down pit road. This group on pit road: Hastings, Josh McCullough, Call, Zittel, Paleshi, Caldwell, Wright, Brunson, Ward, Carlbon, Huerta, Waring, who we just talked about, Melikar, Osbornoff, and Corey Wright. That is the second group to come down pit road. That's going to leave a few drivers in no man's land. Nagels, Merck, Falkingham, the NBG cars, Davenport, Mike Davenport by himself, Charlie Morgan, and that pack with Barnes and company that I just mentioned. They're all going to be in a bit of no man's land here. You got to imagine the NBG cars will come right here to complete the cycle. They will. They'll bring Mike Davenport with them, and just like that, the cycle will be complete as Charlie Morgan will make his pit stop as well.
And for Cody Nagels right here, it looks like he had a very clean entry, so as long as he gets into the box okay, he should lead the group that he let in back out of the pits. But that second group that came in, Dawson, definitely saw a couple of issues. I saw Corey Wright, Trevor Osbornoff, and a couple of others slide through their pit box on top of the spin for James Waring. But you can see here, Daniel Falkingham, how about that for a pit stop? He's actually going to lead this group back out, followed by Nagels. It's going to be a drag race between Davenport and Jeff Merck. But overall, I think that third group got the best pit stop, and I'm curious to see how things will cycle out once this first group, or excuse me, what is now the current first group, goes in for their pit stops.
So we'll see. You're going to see some guys get past here. Charlie Morgan was a little ways behind. He's going to get passed up by this, what is now going to provisionally be the lead group for now. You see Osbornoff, he'll get passed in the 89 as he comes off pit road. You'll see Brunson get past that Nagels NBG group. It's going to be close. Davenport even might blend in here as well. As these guys catch up to the NBG cars, will the NBG cars stay in front of them? They will for the most part. Now these guys are going to get there. And instead of going low, you see Nagels, Falkingham, Merck try to play the game. Falkingham throws a block to the fence. That's not advisable, but it works anyway for him. And it's going to help NBG stay up front. It's also going to draw 6 cars back into the fight behind them as well. And they're door slamming here. Eckert and Falkingham, Ray and Nagels. We're going back and forth. We're trading paint all the way down to turn 1.
Yeah, former PGR 500 pole sitter and former PGR 500 champion door-to-door. Watch out on the bottom. They left the door open, and here comes Austin Call. He's got a big run off of turn number 2. He's getting pushed by the 94 Caldwell. These two going to go to the lead, and I'll tell you what, where did Maxwell Caldwell come from?
Well, where did any of them come from? I mean, this group was well back of these leaders. I mean, they were catching up, but not this fast. They go all the way around it. Got to imagine it started with the door slamming as these guys took speed off each other. The group behind him said, look, I mean, there's a free open lane right there. We'll take it. We'll jump all the way to the bottom, and they go all the way to the lead. So how about that for Call in the 18 as things settle down for the moment here with 21 laps to go. Now, it should be noted, the pack led by Danny Barnes, you'll see them here, has not yet come to pit road. Danny Barnes, Dylan Jones, Dwayne Drummond, Zachary King, Vicente Guerrero, Steve Sizemore, David Flanagan, and Andrew Zanto. And their pace is considerably slower than the leaders. What this tells me, Austin, is that these guys are saving, and they're going to try to make it the hard way. The problem is they only have 15 seconds of leeway. It's not a ton of gap. They're losing a little bit too much delta every time, I think, to make it work, but they are certainly going to give it a run for their money as they're up in turn 1.
Yeah, and they're also hoping for maybe a caution. That would be the other saving grace here in the scenario for that first pack. But this second group, they're going to be racing for the payouts and the free entries to the 500 here tonight, led by Ethan Eckert. He jumps up in front of Malik Ray. They're coming up on a few lap cars here. Looks like one of them may be the 05, excuse me, that's the 78 of Evan Carlbon. Looks like also Joe Huerta as well. Another lap car up ahead, but 2x2 for the most part throughout this main pack. Ethan Eckert on the outside, and on the inside, it's still the 18 of Austin Call. I'll tell you what, for two guys that we have not been able to call their name a ton yet, kind of fresh faces to PGR, Call and Caldwell have been doing a phenomenal job so far here tonight. They've survived the pit stops that we've seen so far, been able to stay with the lead group, and here they are with 18 laps to go, a shot to win it at Daytona. Ethan Eckert continues to lead the 94, though, in third. Single file for the front three, but back to 2x2 as they shoot into turn 1.
I'll tell you what the interesting part of this is to me, too, with those two guys, and Andrew Paleschi's in this group, and Kyle Zittel is down there as well. This is going to be really interesting for the teammates involved. We saw the 3 NBG cars, Falkingham, Merck, Nagels. We saw the 3 cars together with Eckert, Malik Ray, and Jackson Byes. Now, Byes has lost this front draft. Stephen Miles, I believe, has still got it towards the tail end. No, Miles is in that second group as well with Byes. So a pair of teammates, Ray and Eckert, a trio of NBG teammates that are all together. What Call and Caldwell and Paleschi and Zittel do, those are wild cards. They don't have any loyalties to the guys around them that are on teams to where Malik Ray or Cody Nagels or Daniel Falkingham could rely on them to go with them in the case of a move. They're here for themselves. That makes them a complete and total wild card that I don't think these guys up front thought about. Eckert, man, that was a big shot right there. Not sure what happened at the exit of turn 2, but call got to him quickly and hit Ethan Eckert awfully hard there on the exit of turn 2. But what these guys now do is break up some of these team cars, and that could prove to be a complete wild card. I have no idea what those three are going to try to do when it comes down to it. The Jones, Drummond, King, Barnes, Flanagan, Guerrero group is on pit road. Sizemore and Zanto are going to continue to test it, but can't imagine it's going to last much longer as Eckert continues to have the provisional lead. He'll get up to third right here.
And we did have one spin on the pits. Looks like that was the 51 that did spin out there, but otherwise up front, still clean and green. You talked about those two that stayed out, Dawson. I don't see any way that obviously they're going to be able to make it on fuel. Ethan Eckert will lead what will become the lead pack once those two do cycle in for their final pit stop of the night. But as you look up front here, man, I'll tell you what, for the 78 of Evan Carlbon, who currently is not on the lead lap, he's just hanging with this draft, and if we were to get a caution, he'd be in about the best spot to get his lap back. And for everybody else here, still in position here to try to win this race at the front of the field, Falkingham, Malik Ray, Cody Nagels, Austin Call. It's all about when do you make that move. And you talked about trying to get these teammates split up. I think if you wait till the last lap, it's going to be too late. We've seen time and time again, 3 teammates is a lot easier to defend the rest of the field than if you only have 1 or 2. So we'll see how they go about it. But big check up into turn 1. Austin Call has to catch it in the 18.
Yeah, they've kind of done that a little bit now as Falkingham got down and then back up in front of Malik Ray. They've kind of split those cars up now in terms of the Ray and Eckert teammates, but the other teammates are split too. Falkingham leads, then it's a gap with Malik Ray, then it's Nagels, and then Merck is another 2 cars back. So they were split up, not anymore. Falkingham dropped back down to the bottom as Nagels going to try to draw him clear. It's going to be tight here off turn 4. Nagels is not going to get it. Falkingham will. Nagels will stay on the bottom with the push of Ethan Eckert, his former teammate. A pair of former Nightmare teammates now lead the bottom. It's Falkingham and Ray on the outside, guys that know each other very well. Also in the top 4, the pack that actually will contend for the win of lead lap cars goes back to Mike Davenport. It's 13 lead lap cars. You talked about Carl Bond being in this group as well. Corey Wright is in this group. Joe Huerta is in this group also. So a number of lap cars in this group, but 13 lead lap cars going to decide it unless there is a caution late in the going of this one. Falkingham leads back to 3. Again, how has Nagels? Now they'll both get up. Now they'll control the race. 2 very tough customers. Now 1-2. Nagels has won a big money race here before. Falkingham's the defending champ of the 500. They go 1-2 for a moment, but it's Eckert trying again to get back into the 500 a second year in a row. He'll try to go to the lead, and Caldwell and Paleski are back in the picture as they rocket back towards 1.
And put yourself about a week ahead here when we obviously kick things off for the PGR 500 a little bit further when we get to next Saturday for the duels. Make that not next Saturday, but the following Saturday. And, you know, if you're in this spot, we've got less than 20 cars on the lead lap that are in this lead pack. So you know if this race ends under green and you don't wreck, you are going to advance into the PGR 500 feature. Now, in that situation, you got to make that decision. What do you do? Do you stay in line? Are you comfortable with just advancing into the feature? Or do you try to go for a little bit extra? We talked about $60 to win the heat, $100 to win the duel. So that would add to the money that you could potentially win throughout the week before even making it to the feature. Something to keep in mind. But up front right now, Falkingham and Eckert still lead the way, but here comes Nathan Harper. The Cowboys Ford Mustang on the outside with a push from Evan Carlbon. Make it 2 of the Jack Shack drivers getting lined up behind the 4 car. They're going to try to make a surge to the lead, but Austin Call with another big bump to the 12. Eckert, that'll get him back clear all of a sudden. It's the middle line that fades down the super stretch.
Yeah, kind of weird. The middle lane has not been the one to traditionally fade. It will here. Harper's going to get down in front of Falkingham, but that outside continues to rocket forward, and Carlbon will go to the tail end of the lead lap for the moment. He tried to bring Flanagan with him. It did not work. They're still going to be up there. Flanagan with Ward and Jeff Merck. They're going to have to bail out, or we're going to have 4 wide. This is going to be dicey. Let's see if they try to bail or they try to work it. Oh, they try to squeeze through, and they do make it through. Somehow, some way there as they worked around the lap cars of Spain and Zachary King, who will go one lap down. They all get back in line, safe and sound. Harper, that works the best for him and for Evan Karlbahn, who now I believe is in the lucky dog position. Should there be a caution late in the race, also can play a factor in who wins this race. Harper to the lead. Oh, almost trouble out back as guys try to get the pushes going. Was there a crash? I don't see one, but almost one. Back around Flanagan, Hastings, and Merck.
Yeah, you see all the sparks flying into turn 3. It was David Flanagan who it looked like as he went to tuck back in line, got a little bit loose. Not sure if he got clipped or if the tires are just starting to wear out here on these next-gen race cars. Coming to 11 laps to go, and Dawson, crunch time has arrived. We're getting towards the end of the race. The question is, when do you start to shuffle yourself in position to potentially win this race? The 78 leads the bottom, but that is not for position. Evan Karlbahn trying to get the lap back the hard way. On the outside, Nathan Harper is currently your race leader. Daniel Falkingham doing all the pushing on the outside. Nagels continues to run up towards the front. And if you're Ethan Eckert, Austin Call, Maxwell Caldwell, what do you do here? Do you keep pushing the 78 or do you try to split him and get around?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. You're obviously boxed in here from a potential payout position if you stay behind a lap car. I think you got to try to push him clear trouble. Around goes Karlbahn in front of the field. Harper's involved. Hastings, Ward, Huerta, Paleshi. A big crash right on the entry of pit road. Collects a number of them, and it includes the race leader at the time, Harper, Ward, Karlbahn we talked about. Big damage to some heavy hitters and contenders for the win, and that changes everything.
Oh boy, we are going to have a restart with less than 10 laps to go. And if you thought it was getting ready to get chaotic, well, we're going to about double or triple that now because you are going to bring all of the lead lap cars back into the mix. And I know we're going to obviously get a replay of this, but curious note to mention whether or not anybody will stop to either top off on fuel or feeling like the tires are worn out enough that it's worth it. But, you know, Dawson, looking at that incident, oh man, for the 4 of Harper, I think, is there a little bit of netcode here potentially from Ethan Eckert? You know, I don't see anything else. Is either a little bit of netcode or a little bit of contact. Couldn't tell from kind of the first angle that I looked at it as. But either way, once they made contact, I mean, Karlbahn gets turned about the worst spot you possibly could, right in front of the field. Everybody scatters to try to miss him, but even so, collects about 3 to 5 of them. John Ward in there, and you mentioned Paleshi had obviously nowhere to go. Luckily, I don't think a lot of the lead lap cars got too big a damage from this incident.
Yeah, take another couple looks back. It definitely looked initially like some netcode, and there you go. That angle right there is going to confirm it. Eckert, by the way, had worked up the track. I think there would have been some contact anyways, and it comes from Falkingham and Nagels. It started to roll to the outside. They were going to make the move up on exit of turn 4, and Eckert and Karlbahn started to follow. Eckert is the unlucky recipient of some netcode with Harper. He gets into the 4. They turn the 78 up the track. Ward is going to get involved. Corey Wright may have gotten a piece as well. Curious to see if anybody hits the Paleshi machine here in the 81 as he got spun around. I think he was able to keep going. I don't really think he gets hit hardly at all by anybody coming on. Good job there by Joe Huerta. We're going to have to go to an onboard with Huerta, potentially Hunter Hastings as well, as somehow those guys avoid big damage here. But for Paleshi, just kind of spins to a stop in the infield there. You see John Ward with some serious damage to his 92. So Ward, Karlbahn, Harper got the most severe damage out of this. A few other guys involved, but for a couple, this could have been a lot worse. Let's start with Joe Huerta. I think he's the first one I saw that had a crazy wreck avoidance here to get through this one. We'll go on board with the car number 67. It's Joe Huerta. Watch this. You get a front row seat. Maybe a little contact there with John Ward, but could have been a lot worse. And then as Paleshi comes to a stop, Huerta zigzags, goes inside to the outside, and makes it work. Let's get on board with Hunter Hastings as well. He definitely gets some involvement in this, but it could have been a whole lot worse. He's right behind the start. See it start in front of him. How in the world did he miss the Nathan Harper car right there? I have no idea. And he has life in the 7th position, so a pair of guys that have some new life in this race, but a number that are unfortunately going to have to fix some damage. Harper, Flanagan, Guerrero all on pit road. John Ward, Evan Karlbahn may have called it a night. They continue to sit down there as well. Zachary King and some others on pit road repairing damage.
Yeah, a tough incident right there, but for some of the front guys, big opportunity here to see what you can do in a late race scenario. A few teammates around for the NBG guys. Daniel Falkingham and Cody Nagel is going to line up on the front row, and then you'll have Jeff Merck back in that fourth spot. Austin Call continues to impress. He'll restart third, and rounding out the top five is going to be Maxwell Caldwell. Malik Ray, though, still in contention. That's the Canadian driver and Coke Series driver. One of two that we've got in the field here tonight. Hunter Hastings, the 81 of Paleshi, was able to continue without having to go in for at least any major repairs. Mike Davenport back in the 55. Stephen Miles, Jackson Byes. A lot of big names that were in that second pack, Dawson, that are now going to be merged back with the leaders. And with the lights off on the pace car, it looks like we're going to be going back to green flag racing this time. And I do want to give a quick shout out to all the folks watching at home. We certainly appreciate you joining us here from Daytona International Speedway. And Dawson, I know that you've been doing a great job hosting tonight, so I don't want to take any of the thunder, but just wanted to make a quick note. Next week, as we kick things off, of course, with the PGR 500 and the road to it, we will have broadcasting throughout the entire event. We're looking forward to it. We've got a great production crew coming in, featuring a lot of the same guys that you've seen in previous PGR SummerSlam 499s, and then, of course, last year's PGR 500. So going to be a great event on track, Dawson, and I know that me and you both are looking forward to all the great coverage that we're going to be able to bring to the folks watching at home.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. Appreciate everyone in chat. There's been so many messages tonight. I really can't keep up with it too much. Really nice audience as well. So appreciate everybody coming out tonight and checking out a recruitment race. And yeah, really looking forward to some of the things we've got on tap next week for the PGR 500. Excited to get to work with a couple producers in DJ Line and Christian Hill that we've gotten to work with a number of times over the last several months, and that I've gotten to know very well. They're some of the best in the business. Can't wait to get them back on board. It's going to be a lot of fun. I know they're looking forward to it just as much as we are, maybe a little more perhaps, but glad to bring those guys back on. Next week is going to be a treat, so hope you'll join us again. Every night has some heat racing. Monday through Friday, we're going to run 12 heats. We'll run the pole shootout late Friday night, LCQs and duels on Saturday, and then a full race on Sunday. It is a busy week next week. Set your calendars. Be prepared to join us for a long week of fun racing next week for the PGR 500. Some business to attend to tonight, though. 8 laps to go, make it 7 at the line. Some payouts, some free entries on the line. Green flag is back in the air, and it's teammates on the front row. Falkingham gets the jump. He'll go up to his teammate Nagels, and they're off and running towards turn 1. Caldwell Hastings waiting on help is out back. Bison, Josh McCullough almost caused another incident into turn 1 as Malik Ray looks 3 wide.
Everybody jumped up to the outside as soon as they crossed the start-finish line. The bottom, though, with a little bit of hope here. 3 cars tandem together up front as they work down the super stretch. Big push on the inside, trying to keep Austin Call up in contention. The 18's getting a push from the 94, but it's all the outside right now. Third lane going to get going. How about Stephen Miles up top? He's going to pull 2 teammates with him. Now the 6 and Eagles goes high to block. Trouble out back. Sizemore gets turned. Big hit into the outside safer barrier. Everybody else dodges it, but caution is out. 4th one of the night, and now we're going to restart with less than 7 laps to go.
We'll go right back under the caution flag right as that third lane got to the party, and it is for Steve Sizemore. He'll roll all the way down to pit road, so he'll be able to come down, try to get some of that damage repaired, but he did go into the outside safer barrier. This was towards the tail end of the lead pack, and maybe trying to get back down into that gap right in front of Nash Brambilla. Brambilla slammed the door. By the time Sizemore was coming back down, they come together, and it's Sizemore. He's going to correct back to the right, gets the outside wall. See the hood come up on that machine. Oh, Michael Barksdale going to get involved from out back as well, as he's going to knock it into the outside retaining wall also. Guys from out back. The field was luckily spread out enough from there on back that there really wasn't much opportunity for this to get big. So Sizemore and Barksdale, the only 2 cars involved, both going to come down and fix damage. I don't think that it's going to be fatal for either car here. It looked like both hit pretty square on either another car or on the outside wall. Let's see this again. So fly past the drone cam. You see the contact there. Brambilla into the left rear of Sizemore. Sizemore goes around, but watch how square he's able to hit the wall here. He doesn't really get it with the right front, so maybe just some nose damage for Sizemore to fix. You see the hit there for Barksdale as well. So may have gotten lucky there for Sizemore and Barksdale, not only that they hit the wall square, but also that cars behind them are so out of shape and so far apart, this did not get bigger than it was.
Absolutely, and it's going to be, looks like probably 3 or 4 laps to go here, Dawson, Most tracks, we'd say that's not much time at all. Here at Daytona, it's 2.5 miles for one lap around this monster of a super speedway. So I'd say if you're still inside the top 10, top 15, you've got a shot at this thing. But outside of that, it's going to be all desperation mode here for these last couple of laps. And it looks like it is going to be, once again, NBG teammates and actually make it a trio. Daniel Falkingham, Cody Nagels, and Jeff Merck that are going to line up for your top 3 once we do get back to double file here. Malik Ray still up inside the top 5, but as you look at all the guys inside your top 10, Dawson, 5 of them are up 20 or more positions from where they started this feature race at here again tonight. So it's been a little bit chaotic, but tell you what, the cream of the crop always seems to rise to the top, and that is exactly what we have seen here tonight. Jackson Byes, Hunter Hastings still in it here with a chance as we get towards the end, but Justin Melikar looks like a little bit of damage on the front nose of his number 84, Midnight Racing Chevy Camaro. I don't know, Dawson, for a favorite here, I think I got to go with the defending PGR 500 champion, but I'm so curious to see how he's able to work with a couple of teammates here.
Yeah, Falkingham obviously has his teammates now in his rearview mirror. They're going to line up 1, 2, and 3 as we get ready to go under this, what should be a 3 laps to go restart. So it will not be overtime yet, still well within regulation at this point in the race. So a trio of teammates up front, but the dynamic up front has now changed. We got Malik Ray and Stephen Miles that will line up together. Jackson Byes isn't far behind them. Those 3 working together also. So a change in the dynamic. They had just gotten their line going to get to the front when that caution came out. So kind of stopped up their momentum, but they were able to gain some spots. Now they're in position to make something of it. The cars I'm watching are guys like Austin Call. Again, guys with no affiliations here that are going to be complete wild cards. They're not here racing for a team banner. They're not here racing for the guys around them. They're racing for them, and they're going to make the moves for them that benefit only them. I'm really curious for Call, Paleshi, Maxwell Caldwell, that are all inside the top 10 here. Colin Kane's just outside the top 10. He's got Charlie Morgan running out that way as well. So a number of cars. Dominic Wright's back inside the top 20 for the first time since that first incident. He's in 18th. So a number of guys here with no team affiliations that I'm really curious to see what they have to say about this finish, considering, again, they could care less who lines up in front or behind them or alongside them or who has the team numbers here. They don't care. They see a checkered flag. They see a free entry to the PGR 500 on the line tonight. They're looking for it right here. I'm really curious to see what those guys have to do. If you wanted to pick a favorite, yeah, obviously I think Falkingham is in contention. But, man, Stephen Miles is on some kind of heater right now, and when he gets in position, he tends to know the right move to make. And, by the way, he's got team cars with him. I don't know. The green, white, and red 18, there's something about it here in Speed Weeks. He's been on a heater. I think you got to look at Miles as we get ready to go green as well.
Certainly a strong choice there as well. And, you know, I do want to mention, we've been doing a lot of these, recruitment races, but nothing is going to compare to running 200 laps around this place for the feature in the 500. So for a lot of these guys, I think patience is something that maybe was a little bit lacking, especially through the shorter races. I think everybody did a pretty good job overall tonight, but whatever notes you had, definitely going to have to apply, but you also got to consider you're going to have to take care of the race car if you do indeed make it into the feature, not next Sunday, but the one up following that. And for Malik Ray here lining up behind Cody Nagels, what does he do? Because obviously he is going to have his teammate and Stephen Miles behind him. Those two, do they try to split the 6 out? Does Falkingham get a jump and get up in front of Nagels so that he can cover the third if Malik goes out there? It's a chess game, Dawson. You've heard that analogy so much before. At almost 200 miles an hour. And big question tonight is, who's going to call checkmate?
Well, the MBG cars are certainly hoping that it's them, everyone behind them, including Malik Ray, Austin Call, Stephen Miles, hoping that that is not the case. Certainly not the greatest of tides here for the field to line those 3 cars up potentially. Falkingham is the leader. Going to be really interesting to see how these cars handle this, where they want to go. 3 laps to go. If we make it to the white flag, this race will finish in regulation. If not, we'll need some overtime. Falkingham, Nagels on the front row. Green flag is back in the air. 3 laps to go. Falkingham waited, and they're going to crash out back. Morgan, multiple cars around. It's the big one in the tri-oval as Falkingham tried to wait until the last second. It's carnage in the infield on the front stretch.
And it looked like they may have got a little jumpy out back. Not quite waiting for the leader to take the green, and man, that was absolute calamity as they were coming to the start-finish line there to take the green, and Well, we know now we are going to be headed to our one and only overtime attempt here tonight, but first we got to sort out how much damage was sustained from this wreck and how many cars were involved. It looked like it started back towards the mid-pack, and I'll tell you what, for a split second, Dawson, part of me was hoping that these guys were going to be able to save it, but it looks like that actually starts right around the 69 of Charlie Morgan, and whatever the issue was for him, it does not take long to snowball, and once he goes up the track and gets into Jones, they start to pile in from there.
And I'm not sure if it was by choice or if Falkingham missed a shift, but it was obviously late to the punch there in the restart zone for Daniel Falkingham, and I'm not sure if he tried to, I don't know, not play a little bit of games in the restart zone, but almost kind of fake out the outside line to try to get a good jump and kind of get teammates lined up, but boy, it does not work out back. You saw the stack up happening immediately. I called it out as soon as it started to happen halfway through the field. Morgan's the first one that gets around. Look at way up in front of these guys. They're crashing. Eckert, Brunson, Flanagan, Guerrero, King, Brambilla, Barnes, Jones, Morgan, Carlbon, Barksdale. There's another double-digit amount of cars. Many of them had already fixed damage tonight and are now going to have to go do so again here with just 2 laps to go. We'll take another look at it. We'll run this back a little bit, too, from this wider angle so you can kind of see what I mean with Falkingham. We're focused on Charlie Morgan. Watch up ahead at how late Falkingham goes here in the zone. He waits, and I almost wonder if maybe he missed a gear. I'll tell you what else happened that I noticed there. The car running third behind him, Jeff Merck, tried to hit him in the restart box and spring him forward, and I think instead it just vaulted Merck backwards and actually caused a stack up on the bottom lane. So in one way or another, the NBG teammates tried to time it. Unfortunately, it caused a stack up out back that just got worse the further back that it got. We'll go to one more angle. You'll see the checkup again as we get one more look at it. But, boy, for the guys up back, there's just not much you can do. You're on the gas. You have no idea what's happening in front of you. And it is calamity for a number of cars. And it goes all the way up. Look at Ethan Eckert. I mean, he's 100 feet in front of this, and they are still crashing at the exit of the tri-oval.
Yeah, not much you can do, especially once you're already on the gas, kind of committed to it. The 89 Osmernoth did a fantastic job of sneaking through the first part. Believe he made it through the second part. Couldn't tell from our first camera view, but 69, the 78, the 00, I think are arguably some of the biggest hits in this incident. And, you know, Dawson, I know obviously for those guys, it's been kind of an up and down night, but you look at some of the leaders, and obviously this is going to change the strategy for Malik Ray, Stephen Miles, who were lined up there bumper to bumper. We'll see if they're able to restart that way once again, but your game plan just went from having 3 laps to now only having 2 laps to do it.
We just went on board with Trevor Osmernoth. He does appear to get a hit in the second portion of that crash. Unsure how severe the damage is on that car. He is still running, so take a look at his car as he rolls down the back straightaway. He continues to be a lap down, so unfortunately not going to be much he can do to get back into this one, but was able to continue on from that one. That will send us into our one and only overtime attempt. It all comes down to this. Payouts on the line, free entries on the line, depending on which driver it is going to be what they're racing for. We do know this. Daniel Falkingham, Cody Nagels, and Jeff Merck are your top 3. Malik Ray is 4th. They're all 4 in the conversation for the payouts. Austin Call is the first car I believe is in conversation for the free entry. Then you got Stephen Miles running 6th, obviously in the payout positions. Andrew Paleschi, Maxwell Caldwell, they may very well be running for entries tonight, 7th and 8th. Jackson Bias, Justin Melikar, 9th and 10th running for payouts. The rest of the lead lap cars, for the most part, I want to say are in the payout positions and not necessarily the market for an entry. Hunter Hastings, Josh McCullough. Colin Kane may be in the line for an entry. He's 13th right now, but Hastings, McCullough, Mike Davenport, Andrew Zanto, Vicente Guerrero, Dylan Jones, Corey Wright, Nash Brambilla, Nathan Harper, David Flanagan, Michael Barksdale, Ethan Eckert, Joe Huerta are all drivers I anticipate are in payout positions. Dominic Wright runs 15th. He may be in line for one of those free entries if he can gain a couple of spots. Also, Charlie Morgan and Kyle Zittel still on the lead lap. 27 total cars on the lead lap. Only 5, from what I can count, are eligible for what I would assume to be 3 free entries. Anywhere between 1 and 3 are on the line for those 5 cars. For 22 others, it's payouts. And I'll tell you this, Austin, this may scale up as well. 120 to first, 100 to second, 80 to third, 70 to fourth, 50 to fifth, and 40th to sixth. A lot of money to go around tonight with all the team cars up here in conversation as well. A lot of payouts on the line. But man, for guys like Austin Call, they're racing for more than that as well.
Yeah, and you could pay for a couple of PGR 500 entries with some of the cash payouts here tonight. But, you know, the other thing that I've been so impressed with, Dawson, is some of the drivers that aren't regular money racers. I feel like we've seen a couple more as we've gone through these recruitment races, and they're slowly migrating further and further towards the front of these fields as we get to the end of the races. And, you know, I say this and take it with a grain of salt, but based off what we've seen with the car this year versus last year, I'd make an argument that this could be the most competitive PGR 500 that we have seen yet. Obviously, last year, the first annual, but the car drove way different this year. It's going to be a lot about teamwork, but everybody's going to have a chance, especially when you get to these late race shootouts. Time to decide who is going to win it. Pace car are going to pull off for the final time here at the World Center of Racing. 2-lap shootout, green-white checkered style. Green flag back in the air. 5 miles to go at Daytona.
Big jump on the inside for Falkingham. They're going to try to line up these NBG cars up at the front of the field. Bad start for Austin Call from 5th on back. The inside gets a bit of a bad start. That's going to line up Ray and Miles on the outside. Now NBG will line up alongside. Nagels tried to block Ray to the fence. It doesn't work. He'll have to jump back down, and now no man's land for Merck and Falkingham. If they go up, I imagine they're going to get split. There's the move. Ray to the outside. Falkingham blocks it to the fence. Huge block by Daniel. Falkingham stops the momentum. Now it's only 2 cars on the outside. Watch out. Close there into turn 3 as Ray and Falkingham almost got together. On the inside, that's where the run's going to come. Cody Nagels with a push from Austin Call, who will lead the outside. Trouble behind them. No caution. And as we get back into the trial, white flag is up. 1 lap to go at Daytona.
That was Davenport in the background that hit the wall up front, though. This is going to be all bets off. They're wrecking again out back. Now they're going to wreck one more time as they go into turn 1. Nagels has got the lead, though. Up front, he's got 2 NBG teammates behind him. Austin Call still on the bottom. Watch for Justin Melikar. Next car clear. Where does he go? And does this outside have one more run? Hastings going to spin out towards the bottom. It is a 4-car tandem trying to pull away from the rest of the pack as we rocket into turn 3.
Nagels hasn't won in a little bit. He would love to get this one. Big hit out back. That was Josh McCullough who hurtled into the outside wall. Merck gets split. Here comes the Malik Ray team. Do they have enough time? Falkingham, Nagels, they're going to race for it. Malik Ray, he's going to sneak into the picture. At the line, 3-wide photo finish. It's Falkingham by a nose over Nagels in an all-time finish at the line.
Oh my goodness, another 100th. Separating your race winner at second place here in the feature tonight. And Dawson, it looked to me and it sounded like somebody blew up in the background going through turn 3. And you got to wonder if that was the difference in Daniel Falkingham being able to hang on over teammate Cody Nagels tonight.
What a finish from Daytona as Nagels and Falkingham came off turn 4 and they end up racing for it. I'm a little surprised that Falkingham still leaned out because Malik Ray and Stephen Miles were tandem up with one another as soon as they got off turn 4, and they managed to stay together even through the chaos in the corner. Another 100 feet, and I think Malik Ray steals this because watch these two roll up the hill. They almost gave it to him here in the trial, and this is as close as it gets. Actually, I'll tell you what, Nagels threw a very late block right there that may have saved both he and Falkingham from the inevitable stealing away of the victory from Malik Ray. There's your margin of victory right there. Unbelievable stuff at the line between Nagels, Falkingham, Malik Ray, and Stephen Miles as they somehow all kept it together. Falkingham by a nose over Cody Nagels, and that is how they will finish tonight from Daytona. How about that? Falkingham, the defending champ, back in victory lane a week before the next PGR 500. We'll take a look at the results, and we'll get to talk to your top 3 for some post-race interviews here in just a few moments. It's Daniel Falkingham that captures the victory tonight from Daytona in the recruitment race by 13 one-thousandths of a second over Cody Nagels. Malik Ray goes 3rd tonight. Another strong run for he and teammate Stephen Miles, who go in the 4th spot. Same can be said for their teammate Jackson Bies in 5th. It's another NBG entry. Jeff Merck in 6th. Justin Melikar tried to make a move. It didn't pan out for him there off of turn number 3. He goes 7th tonight. Nash Rambilla 8th. Vicente Guerrero recovers to finish 9th. And Andrew Paleschi finishes in the 10th spot.
Going on back to 11th, Dominic Wright, maybe going to sneak in one of those free PGR 500 entries. Good run for him. Nathan Harper in 12th. Michael Barksdale takes home 13th. Ethan Eckert, last year's PGR 500 pole sitter with a 15th place run here tonight, make that 14th. Andrew Zonto finishes 15th. Dylan Jones back in 16th. Joe Herta 17th. It's going to be Kyle Zittel finishing back in the 18th spot here tonight. And rounding out the top 20, Maxwell Caldwell and Austin Call.
Back in 21st, it's Colin Kane in the 25. Corey Wright goes 22nd tonight. Mike Davenport, 23rd. Hunter Hastings, really strong effort tonight from him. He's unfortunately not going to get the finishing result to show for it. He'll go 24th. Charlie Morgan in 25th. Josh McCullough in 26th. Dwayne Drummond finishes 27th with David Brunson back in 28th. Evan Carlbon finishes 29th, and Zachary King finishes in the 30th spot.
And two more Jack Shack drivers, unfortunately, finishing outside of the top 30 tonight. David Flanagan goes 31st. Trevor Oswanoff, 32nd. Gordon Spain finishes 33rd. Danny Barnes in 34th. Steve Sizemore, 35th. John Ward getting caught up in some trouble there towards the end. He finishes 36th. James Waring back in at 37th. It's going to be Chase Mastretta finishing in at 38th. And rounding out the field here tonight is Gordon Glidewell in 39th and Mark Von Dell in 40th.
We are going to go get your top three for some post-race interviews. Stay with us here on PGR. We'll be right back to talk to the top three from tonight's recruitment race. Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway as we get to talk to your top three from tonight's recruitment race. We'll start first with the man who finished third tonight. It is the one car, Orange and Black Tint Solutions, Ford Mustang, and Malik Ray. My partner Austin stands by.
Hey, Malik, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, man. How you guys doing?
Good. Well, I'll tell you what, that was certainly a chaotic finish. You're not part of the photo finish at the front, but you did make a late dive there. What more do you think you would have needed? What move did you need to do different to maybe have a little bit of a better shot there coming down to the end?
Not get turned down onto the apron, but I understand it because I would have still got P2. So, like, I'm not, like, I'm not mad on it for it because I would have did the same thing. So, I think that's really the only other thing I could have done. Because I know if I go up top, I'm gonna get put in the wall, or like he's gonna like block it off. So that's the only option I had was to head low. But I just want to say shout out to my teammate Miles and Jackson. If it weren't for them, I would have never had that massive run to begin with. So I appreciate both of them and their help, because if it wasn't for them, I would not be in that spot.
Absolutely. And, looking back at it here on a second look, I said you weren't part of the photo finish, but you basically were. You almost got to about the door there of Cody Nagels. And going throughout this race, obviously you were able to qualify straight into the feature, but we're starting to get closer and closer to the week of the PGR 500. Is there anything new that you're learning that you think is going to be key to trying to make it through that week and make it to the feature?
Not necessarily. If there was something new that I would have learned, I wouldn't say it on a broadcast. But nah, man, I haven't really learned anything new. I think it just matters about who you have around you at the end, and hopefully it's my teammates, and maybe we can get the job done.
Well, Malik, we won't ask you too much about your race strategy, but overall, a good run for you here tonight. So before we do let you head out to celebrate another night with some winnings, so is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
My boys Stephen Miles and Jackson Baez, I appreciate both of their help. And you guys for broadcasting, and Roger Shelton at Tent Solutions. I appreciate all you guys.
And Malik, we appreciate you talking to us. Congrats again on the third place finish, and hopefully we will see you out here for the next one.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you, guys.
Malik Ray, your third place finisher tonight from Daytona. We're now going to move to the man who finished on the second step of the podium. He led till the final 150 feet, but unfortunately not quite enough to get to victory lane, but still, it felt like a bit of a renaissance tonight for the six of Cody Nagels. We'll talk to him now, the second place finisher. Cody, it's the boys in the booth. You get a copy?
Yes, sir. What's up?
Well, look, not much, and as I was kind of segueing in there, look, obviously not a victory for you tonight. I'm sure you wanted to win just as bad as ever, but It felt to me like some of that big race energy was back. You led a lot of laps. You made a lot of good moves. What can you attribute that to tonight as you kind of get back into form headed into next week?
I think I'm starting to get my head screwed on straight with everything that's kind of went on personally. It's enough to take a toll on you, and I think, I've seen with a lot of different drivers, or if you got stuff you're dealing with personally, it really does affect you on the track because you're not able to really think straight. And time has went by, and I'm at peace with everything, and my life's starting to get straightened out, and I think it's starting to help on the track. So I'm able to log more track time. That helps. I've got good teammates. I got everything I need, I think, to make another run at one of these big races. I'd like to get me at least, if I don't win it, I'd like to maybe at least get a podium in the 500, because last year kind of hurt a little bit on the whole, Dan, I understand he had to do what he had to do, but it kind of parachuted me back a little bit, and Austin did as good as he could to pick me up. But it is what it is in them big races. Right place, right time, and you got to be good enough to put yourself there.
Well, and it segues pretty well into my next question. Again, next week is the big one, the granddaddy of them all, the biggest prize purse in PGR history coming up next week in the PGR 500. You're no stranger to the big money races. We remember back a couple of years ago, the ERA Mega Cup Spring Bowl came off turn 4 leading all the way to the checkered flag, captured a $4,000 payday. Now you said you've got some teammates in place. You're able to log track time. It feels like everything's coming together for you. What's the confidence level at headed into next week? What's the mindset as you get ready to go for the big one next week at the PGR 500?
Definitely better than it was a few months ago. I've talked to you a lot. I feel like you've been with me through a lot of this. Obviously, you were my spotter in ERA. Me and you've done a lot of talking back and forth about everything, so you kind of know where I was mentally. But when you're able to talk to your friends, kind of vent a little bit about everything that goes on, and start logging track time with your teammates again, because I gave away a lot of track time, I felt like, just to try to focus on my life personally and my relationship, and I just devoted time where I shouldn't have. Now I'm able to get some of my life back. I'm able to talk to my friends and get my head screwed back on straight and get more track time doing what I love. And I think that's all it boils down to, because the more laps that you do, the better chance you have to win the big one. And that's all it boils down to. If you look on the track, the guys that are the top guys out there are the ones that put in the most work. They deserve it, all of them. So, yeah, if I'm going to try to stay up there with them, I've got to log the track time with them, because you really will lose it if you're not out there running all the time.
Well, tonight it pays off for you. 100 feet short of a win, but still a podium, led a lot of laps, and again, put yourself back in the conversation as a potential winner that we could be talking to in just over a week and a half from right now. Some nice winnings for you. So before we let you go, I do want to give you an opportunity. Is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Hell yeah. I want to thank Dawson. I want to thank you, Austin, Mike T, Baker, everyone at PGR, everyone at NBG. We got a good group. Great racing tonight up front. Give a shout out to our on-track rivals, Malik, Miles, Jackson Buys. Them guys, they're hard racers. They're tough out there. If we're going to win the 500, I think they've got to go through us, and we've got to go through them. You've seen it out there with the cash spots tonight, and I think the winner of the race comes down to one of our two teams. I don't want to count anyone out, but, odds-wise, I think that's probably where the betting odds are. And we've seen it in the NASRA 500. I think we're going to see something similar in the PGR 500. Should be a lot of fun.
Should be a lot of fun indeed. Cody, congrats on the second place finish tonight. Go enjoy it. Go celebrate. We will talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Cody Nagel's the second place finisher tonight. Now leads us to the man in victory lane here in the recruitment race. He's got used to winning in this car at Daytona and PGR events. Looking to defend his crown next week as the PGR 500 champion. It's Daniel Falkingham getting into momentum at the right time. Looking to go back-to-back. We'll talk to the driver of the 39. He's in PGR victory lane tonight. Dan, it's the boys in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. I got you.
Well, a fun one tonight from Daytona. A bit more racy, I think, than even we had anticipated going into this one. Again, a new setup getting worked in, some track conditions getting messed with as well. You get the job done. You make the move off turn 4. And, what did you notice in the car tonight that was a little bit different? We saw the third line get moving. We saw a lot more shuffling up front. What did you notice that was different about the car tonight than it has been in the past?
Yeah, I really don't know, but I really think a lot of people just really starting to understand the package a lot more, because really, I think the third lane, like, it really does work when you get a lot of people that are committed up there, because people were hauling on the third lane, it seemed like the entire night. I went up there once, and I went from, like, I think, like, just outside the top 10, I went on to lead a lap. So, I think it's really just coming down to people really understanding, like, what they can do with this car and package, because, like, with the draft being crazy, the side draft is still there, like, a little bit, but it's really just, it depends on which way the momentum shifts and which way the momentum swings and whatnot. And I think people are starting to realize that a lot more, especially, like, with all the good guys up here, like with me and Cody and Merck, and then you have, like, Malik, Miles, and Jackson all up there at the end. Then you had Ethan and Nathan, who were up there too and got wrecked. All of us are really slowly starting to figure out, like, what to do and what not to do. And I think you're just seeing them. We're really starting to exploit everything out of this package. And I think it's really gonna make for a good race, because the more we're figuring this out, the more exciting race we're gonna have. Because you see that third line, that was about the third line that worked all night, or the most times we've been doing these recruitment races. So no, I think you're starting to see a little preview of what we're gonna have in 2 weeks, and I think it's gonna be a really exciting race.
Well, every race we've seen throughout these recruitment races, and every time we see this next-gen car, has been more exciting. Something else we're starting to see evolve, though, is the importance of the teamwork. In these recruitment races, it feels like that has been the key. Tonight, it ends up coming down to a couple of different teams, and you really saw it come into effect. After the last pit stop, we saw some door banging, we saw some paint trading. Kind of take me into what that preparation is going to look like for teams trying to make the PGR 500 as we evolve this style and as we see the teamwork come into play. How are you guys as a team, or the guys you're working with, how are you guys going to prepare for the PGR 500 main event and what that race may bring?
Yeah, it's just really the main thing is with this teamwork and stuff. You got to execute the pit stops, and that's what all of us did up front coming out of the pits, and then you got to execute those restarts, because you saw there myself, Merck, and Cody, we were all working together up there, just trying to execute the restart as best we can, because you had Malik and Miles working together right up there as well, because they're going to take every run that they could. And they tried on that last restart. Thankfully, I was able to go up there and kill their momentum, then get back down with Merck and Cody, and we were able to break away there on that last lap until we all had shenanigans come to the line. But now we're still the teamwork. I really think is going to be more important than ever than you see maybe in like a Gen 6 or whatnot, because like it's so you can take every single run as long as you have people that are committed, but you can end that run like by going up and just killing it like I did on that last restart. So and knowing you can go to a certain line and knowing you're not going to get screwed. But, I mean, there is going to come to a point where the teammates are going to matter, but there's going to come to a point where it's going to be every man for themselves, because everyone's going to want to win this race. So, but no, it's definitely going to be a point where the pit stops, as you saw, and, of course, those last few restarts. If you got people around you that you are working with, it's going to be a huge advantage. So, if this field is really mixed up at the end of this race, then you're probably not going to know who is going to win it, because you're going to have a mix of people who know what they're doing and people that don't know what they're doing. But if you have all your teammates up there and you work, execute the teamwork perfectly and whatnot, then you're going to be in a really comfortable spot. But that's going to be the thrill of it when we get down to the end of this thing, is who's working together the best and who's up front when it matters. Because definitely at the end of this race in 2 weeks, you're going to see the people, you're going to see the faces that up there and how they got up there. So going to probably be more important than ever.
Well, look, you're the defending champ, so real quick, do you want to get a kind of an idea of where your headspace is at, where your confidence level is at heading into that race in 2 weeks? Obviously, the only man to ever win the PGR 500, looking to go back-to-back, an unprecedented repeat performance. Does that add pressure for you? Just kind of talk about where your confidence level is at headed into the big one here in next week.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it really adds any pressure, because, I mean, the best part about being the defending champ is we're already in the race, so we don't have to go through the stress of going through the heat races or going through the duels and whatnot. So we kind of just get to chill over the week and just try to just learn a little bit more about this car and package, and then that just gets us, for me to just kind of relax and get ready for the main show in a couple weeks. So I wouldn't say it really adds any pressure. Just I feel more relaxed knowing that I've already won this race once, and no one can take that away from me. But to go be a two-time defending champ of this race it'd be pretty cool, to say the least.
Well, hitting your stride at the right time, momentum going into next week. It starts tonight with a win in the recruitment race. So before we let you go, do want to give you an opportunity. Is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, shout out to you guys broadcasting. I know y'all are going to do a good job in a couple weeks when we get this thing rolling for real. Shout out to Mike and everyone who puts this stuff on. Thanks to everyone who comes on the race. Thanks to Cody and Merck. We were working together that entire race, and we all got up there in cash. So should have been a 1-2-3, but Merck got really screwed there on that last lap. But I mean, that's what it's going to be in the real thing in a little while. So just got to be expected of that. But yeah, shout out to those boys. And shout out to everyone watching, and hopefully these are some good previews of what's to come over the next couple weeks.
An exciting one tonight, and another trip to victory lane for that familiar 39 tonight. Dan, congrats on the win. Go enjoy it. Go celebrate. We will talk to you throughout the week.
All right, thanks, Dawson. Appreciate you.
Daniel Falkingham, the winner tonight from Daytona International Speedway in the recruitment race. So we'll start to kind of wrap things up now, and as we do, Austin, I'll tell you what, going into tonight and really throughout these recruitment races, I have not known what to expect in terms of the package that we're going to get with this race car and the new version of this Gen 7 car. Last year we knew what to expect. We didn't have any updates. We knew what guys could and couldn't do, and it just came down to how would they execute on race day. Now there's been this learning process. There's been a new setup introduced, and I think what it's done is guys continue to learn, like you heard Dan talking about there and Malik talking about as well. As guys continue to learn what they can do in this new package and get more comfortable, the racing has slowly gotten better, and this new setup's added a crazy element to it tonight. Some of the craziest racing we have seen in this car in a while on this new version of this package. We're shaping up for a big one in a week and a half, a big week of racing, of fun racing, and it started tonight with a wild one.
Yeah, without a doubt. And, one thing I noticed, Dawson, that move Falkingham pulled off, that looked familiar, didn't it? Casey Kerwin with what he was able to do to Daniel Eberhardt back in the Podium 500 a few years back. So these cars are still raceable in every aspect. Pack racing, one-on-one, and, we've seen time and time again that big wreck on the last lap where it can come down to just 2 or 3 cars that have a shot at it. So nobody out of it. Surprised to see Malik get that massive run at the end. So I think it's going to be an exciting finish regardless. And yes, big excitement and anticipation that continues to build ahead of next week. We've got a lot of events throughout the week, but I think with each recruitment race, Dawson, you're right. A lot of these guys getting more and more comfortable, but at the same time, that's all going to change once you realize that your chances of making the PGR 500 are on the line.
We won't keep you all too long tonight. We'll go through this week and obviously give you a little preview of next week as well, what that schedule will look like. Obviously, tonight a recruitment race. Tomorrow night will be HGR action. It is a kind of not a double feature, but it's an everyone's invited type of race, as they'll get everybody together from the Jimmy Crow races, and everybody will come together for a fun one tomorrow night. It's going to be in the Gen 6. There are some rule changes that are going to be fun about that one tomorrow night. So looking forward to that one right back here on PGR eSports, as we'll bring you all of the action from that. Wednesday night, another special recruitment race. We're really going to hammer some of these out this week. And Wednesday night, going to be bringing some of our production team back on as we get you ready for the PGR 500 next week. Getting some things test run, getting some things dialed in as we all get ready to put on our part of next week's event. So looking forward to that. That one's going to be a lot of fun. There is no race on Thursday this week, but PGR eSports will be covering some heat races for the MRL 500 coming up later this weekend. So looking forward to being a small part of that on Thursday. Believe there might be another recruitment race coming up this weekend, maybe 2 coming up this weekend. So looking forward to those as well. We'll see if those are live. Also, the Stars and Stripes Shootout Series, the Midnight Racing League on Friday as usual. And then Monday evening is when we get started for real in the PGR 500. Heat races start around the 9 p.m. time slot on the East Coast is when we'll run the first heat race a week. 2 on Monday, 3 on Tuesday, 3 on Wednesday, 3 on Thursday, I believe, or 2 on Thursday or some number like that, and then 1 on Friday to lead into the pole shootout on Friday night. 24 cars running for the front row to lock into the PGR 500. Saturday, LCQs, dual races. Sunday, obviously 500 miles. A big, busy week and a half coming up for us at PGR eSports. Hoping to have you along for the ride. Glad to have you along for the ride tonight. Thank you so much for coming out and watching and using the chat and being active. Hopefully you're all as excited as we are for what's coming up in the next week and a half. Tonight, Daniel Falkingham conquers a recruitment race. He wins at Daytona in a wild one in the recruitment race here tonight on a Monday. Join us for all the action throughout the week. Hope to see you next week as well as we get closer to the granddaddy of them all, the Great American Sim Race. For my partner, Austin Green, I'm Dawson Wise. We've been bringing you all the action tonight. I want to say thank you again for watching. Until then, have a good night.